Hello, everyone, to another edition of the Five Star Joshi Show here on the Fight Game Media Network, and of course, my YouTube channel if you watch it over there. I'm your host, Scott Edwards, and with me today is Sondre. Welcome back to the show, my good friend. You are going to bring us through your impressive journey in Japan earlier in January. So I'm excited to talk to you about that. Then we will get into the Marigold Korakuen show, and I'll close out the show later on talking the STARDOM New Year unit tournament as well as Sareee-ISM, which of course happened the day of the recording. So thank you for joining me, Sondre. I always love having you here. How are you doing?
Hi, thank you for having me on. I wanted to be on for both Marigold Auto Ward and Stardom Sumo Hall reviews, but I was in Japan and that was in the middle of the night for me. So, and especially on the 29th, I was pretty drunk when I got home, so I would have never have made it to the recording.
You had a good time. That's the most
Yes,
important thing, right? You had a great time. So instead of those not working out, we instead have you here today to kind of talk about your overall experience. You went
yeah,
to a ton of Joshi shows, different promotions as well, which I think is exciting for anyone listening to this that maybe wants to experience it themselves, especially with the time you went. You went at the hottest time of the year to go for
yes,
all these shows. Um, so overall, just like for your experience, was this the first time you've gone to Japan?
yeah. This was my first trip to Japan.
And was it everything you hoped it would be and more?
Oh yeah, I was
Yeah,
only in Tokyo, so I didn't get to see like my favorite company, Dragon Gate. Uh,
that's crazy. But they
so
didn't run a lot, to be fair to you, like,
yeah,
but when you were there.
they usually take like almost the entire first week off of the
Yeah,
year,
yeah,
and their first show of the year was on the 9th, and that was in Kobe. I would have
yeah.
so I didn't want to make that journey because I was going to go to the JTO show on the 10th. So.
Mhm. Yeah, I don't blame you for that.
So
So but
yeah,
you saw what was the number 18 shows?
I saw 18 shows in total. 14 of them are from different promotions. So I went to 14 different promotions. 12 of the shows are Joshi shows. Where only two companies I went to two times. Marigold and Oz Academy I went to twice.
Gotcha, gotcha, and you went to the New Year's show that Margold did, correct?
Yes, the New
Yes,
Year's Countdown show.
yes, yes. Alright, so let's see how we can direct this. So I think the best question to ask you off the rip is like, what was your favorite show that you attended
Um,
out of the many?
uh, like I won't I since this is a Joshi show, I won't say DDT Sumo Hall since that was my favorite show overall. But
Yeah, well,
I
favorite
will
Joshi show.
I will instead say Boss Academy Korakuen.
Oz Academy Korakuen. That
Oh,
of course was the Hazuki Koguma versus Mizunami and Kato main event, correct?
yeah, and also Saki versus Anu
Yes,
in
yes,
a
yes.
fantastic match. Yeah, that show was just so fun. Also, I have pretty much decided that Oz Academy is like one of the worst promotions to watch on tape, but watching them live in the building, they are
Yeah,
like the best
different
promotion
experience.
ever.
Yeah. I can see that. Like I can like as someone who has watched Oz Academy on tape many times, I can imagine like in the building it's great. Obviously cuz the way Osaki wrestles it gets very into the crowd at times and so on. So
And
that's
it's also like
interesting.
booing police, and this
Yes.
didn't happen in Korakuen because I wasn't ringside, but on Shinjuku Face I was ringside, and I had to get up multiple times because of police.
Yeah. That checks out. But I think before we get to more favorites and so on, just kind of like talk about your favorite parts of, I guess, I wouldn't say each promotion. You went to a lot of shows, but just like the things that stood out to you. Obviously, like you went to a lot of different buildings: Shinjuku Face,
Yeah,
Sumo Hall, Oda
Korakuen.
Ward, Korakuen. So I kind of just want to hear like your thoughts about that overall, because to
Yeah.
me, and I think to many other fans of Japanese wrestling, the venues are something that always like brings you
Oh yeah.
into.
I'll tell you, the day I landed on the 27th,
Mhm.
I had gotten tickets for the Seed Korakuen with two friends,
Mhm.
and they had been in Korakuen before, so they didn't have the starstruck moment that I had.
Sure.
Because like when I walked up the stairs into and I saw the roof of Korakuen, I immediately was like, "What the fuck? I'm actually in Korakuen."
Yeah.
And when I
That
was
is.
sitting in the orange seat and looked out across the building, it was so surreal. I have never
Mhm.
felt that feeling before because it's like you're being starstruck of a fucking hole.
It's true. Like I understand that feeling. Like
Yeah,
not for Cork, and I've never been there, but like there we have buildings here in the US. Like obviously I live in Boston. We have Fenway Park, which is a very historic park, and like when you walk out and you just like see something like that that has so much history, so
yeah,
much, and especially if you watch it on TV and you
yeah.
watch, right, you just watch it time and time again. Like we as wrestling fans watch Cork and Hall, and we just know. But
How
I can
many
imagine just walking out to that is like
how many matches do you think you watch on tape from Corkin each year? It's like
each
over a
year.
hundred. It's
Well, yeah,
over a hundred,
well over 100, well over
and
100 for sure.
it's so unique to have that feeling of walking into that building and just seeing that.
Yeah,
Looking up in the balconies and seeing the banners of the different wrestlers, and it was kind of surreal.
hmm
Of course, I have some meeting stories also with that, but I'll stick with the buildings for now.
yeah,
Ota Ward is easily the worst building I've been to in for wrestling. It's it's very remote. It's very far
yeah.
to travel to,
hmm
and there's nothing around there. You only
Interesting.
travel there for Ota Ward.
Interesting.
Um,
And obviously you went to the Marigold one, which that was the first show there in pretty much a year
yeah,
because they did
uh,
renovations. So okay. How about Sumo Hall? Obviously a
oh
big deal.
yeah.
You went to multiple Sumo Hall shows,
I
correct?
went to Sumo Hall twice
Yeah.
on back-to-back days, DDT and then Stardom.
hmm
Um, yeah, it's there's not a bad seat in the building when it comes to the second
hmm
floor for first floor and second floor for
Yeah.
Sumo.
hmm
Uh, it's it's pretty unique,
Yeah.
and I noticed that it's hard to kind of gauge the audience in Sumo Hall when you're in the building
Sure. Sure.
because the boxes aren't full, but
Right. Right.
they still sell out every seat in the box because someone buys all the seats because they want to sit alone. Um,
Yeah.
it's so it was so weird to look up, to look down on these boxes around, and then people telling me that Stardom was a sellout because when I was looking at the boxes, it did not feel like a sellout.
Right. It did. Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Because it did. I think they said it ended up not selling out exactly, but they still had a great number.
They
I
had a
think it was
great
over
number.
4,000. Um, excuse me. What? So besides Corkin, what was your favorite venue?
Shinjuku Face, pretty
Shinjuku Face.
easily.
Yes, that's the one I even saw you in one of the videos. I think you're like right directly in the hard cam on the
Yeah,
Sendai Girl show. Um,
I am.
Specifically. So yeah, Shinjuku Face. I know that as for someone who's talked to people that have gone there, it's like insane how many people they fit in there considering like the situation it's in, if I'm not
Oh,
mistaken.
it's super cramped.
Yeah.
It is very cramped. It's in the eighth floor of a building right in the middle of Shinjuku. I was told I had some friends that left the New Year's Eve early, so they left like 10 minutes before midnight,
hmm
and they when they told me that when they had walked out of the elevator, they had they had barely walked 1 meter into the street and they couldn't move a muscle because there
That's
were so
crazy.
many people.
That's
Like
crazy.
so many people were in Shinjuku just for New Year's Eve celebrations. So I was glad I was still in the building for the countdown.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like you made the right call there. Yeah, I mean, Shinjuku Face has slowly become my again, not counting Korakuen, my favorite venue to watch shows because I just think it captures the noise and excitement the
Yeah,
best
yeah.
these days. And I think the most interesting thing to me is considering all the shows you went to is how many different types of wrestling you saw. Obviously, yes, you saw a lot of Joshi, but you saw a lot of different Joshi wrestling, like different
Yeah.
matches and different kinds. Like obviously, I think you ended or one of your last shows you went to was the JTO show where Aoi was a bloody mess, which
Oh.
we haven't seen that, but I think that's kind of where I want to go now is like tell us kind of about that experience seeing that show because the pictures from that show are incredible.
Yeah, it's it's definitely it's like Aoi versus Rina Yamashita is my favorite match I've ever seen live. It's
Oh
a
wow.
easy, no question match of the year contender. Uh,
Wow.
like immediately when Aoi came out with full white gear, I
Yeah,
knew
you knew.
she's
Yeah.
gonna flee. Um, and I had been missing like a bloodbath like that for my trip, so
Yep.
it was definitely it was just amazing to watch.
Mhm.
So that match, when that match comes out, I hope it manages to translate the experience that it was live. Even
Mhm.
though I doubt it will, because the experience that it was live was incredible because we
Yeah.
didn't expect it to go that violent at all.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, Something I will say about JTO is that
Mhm.
it was fun because I don't watch JTO. I know the Inaba sisters and I know
It's not
Aoi.
easy to be
Yeah,
fair. They don't
yes.
make it easy.
So I don't know any of the male talent
Uh-huh.
and stuff like that, and I barely know the newer Joshis there.
Sure.
I did like Big Haruka. I see a
Big
lot of
Haruka.
potential in her. Um,
Mhm.
I will say that Rina is not it does not have potential at all. That was rough. Um,
I don't even know who
Meiko
that is.
Meiko versus Inaba, Tomoka Inaba
Mm.
was violent and it was hard to follow Rina and Aoi, but
Yeah.
they did it. Uh,
Pretty awesome you got to see Meiko before she
I got to
retired,
see
and the
Meiko
Nye.
3 times. I got to see
Wow.
Meiko 3 times.
Wow. So,
Uh,
okay, so JTO, Senjo,
and Marigold.
oh, and Marigold, obviously. Yeah, that's awesome. That's
And that's
incredible.
it's very awesome because I didn't know that I was gonna watch Meiko when I ordered the tickets in
Right,
April.
right, right. Yeah, you make a great point. You make a great point. Well, it's incredible that you got to see them. And that was your match of the entire trip, Aoi versus Rini Masha JTO. So everyone
Yeah,
keep an eye out for that one when it ever makes tape. Hopefully it makes
I
tape.
will just recommend every match from that match on that show.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
like Rina versus Aoi, Meiko versus Tomoka, and Sumika versus Asuza is all good.
Gotcha. Good to know. Good to know. So hopefully that does make tape. What so obviously you have your own favorite wrestlers. So you got a chance to see a lot of different wrestlers for the first time. What was that experience like? Just getting to see, again, we talked about the venues and getting to experience that, but getting to see the wrestlers and the promotions that you watch on screen all the time, right? Like that must have
Yeah.
been incredible. And obviously, like you went to such big shows, smaller shows, so you got to see it in bigger settings, intimate settings. So can
Yeah.
you just take us through that and your experience seeing some of your favorites?
Well, as you know, my favorite wrestler is Misamatsu. Um,
Yes.
the
And you
matches
got to
I got
meet
to see.
definitely tell us about the meet and greets and so
Oh
on
yeah,
too as
yeah.
well.
Uh, the matches I got to see of Misa Matsui were a Rumble match on New Year's Eve
Yeah.
and a Rumble match on Off the Board.
Yeah.
It was annoying. I wasn't a big fan of it, but I did get to meet her, and I was pretty. It was a pretty cool moment for me. She's been my favorite Joshi for like 3 years now. It feels like so. I immediately went up and said, "Big Teppen fan, Teppen, Teppen number one."
Yeah, that's incredible. You know, like for me, seeing a favorite, I feel like that makes your trip,
Yeah,
right? Like that makes your trip. Meeting your favorite, that makes a trip, and getting to see Misa Matsui. Obviously, you know, just being in Rumble matches isn't perfect, but still, the fact that you got to see her is still
yeah,
great,
yeah.
right?
Uh,
Um,
and
bring us through more, of course.
yeah, the meet and greets at Oat Award for Marigold were very funny because I had been warned that some of the wrestlers will just leave when their line stops.
Sure.
So you before the show, I bought like a portrait for Yuzuki, Miku, and Misa, my three favorites on the
Mhm,
roster. So I knew I was going to go and meet them, and I also
mhm.
bought 2-shot tickets for 3 people. Uh, and like I knew that, and I knew that immediately when the show ended, I was gonna go right into Misa Matsui's line because her
Yeah.
line was gonna end way before Yusuke and Miku. And
Oh.
Miku's line was 3 lines deep
Yeah,
back in the
I do love to hear who has the longest lines and stuff
and
too. So that's always fascinating to
Miku,
me.
who lost the white belt to Mai Sakurai, had a longer
Yeah,
line the entire meet and greet than Mai Sakurai.
that's great. That's crazy. Well, good for Miku, obviously. That means the massive popularity. It'll continue to bring her a long way. I know a lot
Well,
of people were concerned
yeah.
about her following losing her title, so that's always good to hear.
On the first show I went to on Seedling, immediately after Sari versus Nagisa ended, I
Mhm.
didn't even wait for the promo to start. I got up and immediately went down into the meeting greet area for Korakuen, which is like a back room. And I immediately went where I saw Sari's merch and stood in line there. Because I knew that line was going to be full, but if I was going to watch the entire post match promo. And sure enough, when I was the second who got to meet Sari after the show, and
Yeah, that's incredible.
when I turned around, the entire room was full of a line behind me.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, that's incredible. I love that. I love that, and good on you to know to get ahead of it,
What?
before, you got stuck in the long line for
Oh yeah.
that.
When I went to Prominence in Shinkiba,
Mhm.
which that day was horrible because it was piss poor raining, and Shinkiba is a cold venue as it is. So when
Mhm.
it's also raining and we're all soaking wet, it's just very cold in the building.
Mhm.
And after the show, after the main event, which was a really good tag match between Yun Kasai and Dash versus Risa Serra and Takeshi Sasaki.
Mhm.
Very good, like that match, tag match. I wanted to do Risa. I wanted to do Itsuki Aoki. There was a lot of people I wanted to meet.
Yeah.
However, they were doing meet and greets outside, and I did
Oh,
not
no, no,
like.
no, no.
I was not going to do that.
I
I
don't
saw that
blame
there
you.
was. I saw when I got out of the venue. I saw that there was no line for Yun Kasai, and I immediately
Mhm.
just got in that line, asked him for a 2-shot, and then I fucked off and I left.
Good call. Good call. I mean, Kasai's awesome. So,
Yeah.
yeah, can't be too upset about that. So you obviously you did do the dome for day one, correct?
Yes.
How did you like
Um,
the Tokyo Dome experience?
it's a dome. It's a very it's a big building.
Yeah.
It- it's a it's a very nice building. It's what you think a baseball stadium would be. It's very
Yeah.
professionally laid out and stuff.
Mhm.
It's very clean backstage. No, well, in the concourse, I mean.
Yeah.
It was funny because for the first two matches I was sitting in front of like a drunk American who was like screaming the most like WWE like fan stuff
Oh my god.
in the dome, and I saw Japanese people cringing at him, and I was so glad when a friend of mine told me that, oh, there's no one in my row, you can just come here and sit with me, and I was like, okay,
Thank God.
I'll do that then.
You saved your show.
It definitely saved my show. But Mayu versus Asumi was cool. Of course, I
Yeah.
would have liked to watch a Mayu match in Korakuen or something instead, but
Yeah. Yeah. That would be
because
nice.
it's a dome, like they're very
Right.
far away.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. I can imagine. And obviously, did you like the spectacle of the dome? Like of
oh
the
yeah,
Wrestle Kingdom
I,
presentation and
as you
everything?
know, I'm a big Naito fan, so I had
Yes.
pretty big goosebumps during the Naito entrance. Yes.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I know you, like myself, don't watch New Japan as much as you once used to. But Wrestle Kingdom. So I could
Yeah, Wrestle
imagine when
Kingdom.
you were in there, you kind of just
But
felt that.
it was funny because already in November I had made the decision of fuck AW. I'm going to Oz Academy and Sendai Girls.
Well, you made the right choice because you just said Oz Academy was your favorite shows to go to. So,
Yeah,
and
and that Sendai Girls show was amazing. So
yeah, that Sunday Girls show was fantastic. That's the January 5th one for anyone that doesn't remember. I actually have the graphic here. I just realized
I
this show.
then
For
Mika
anyone,
Iwata and Iroha match versus
yeah,
Team 200 KG. One of my favorite matches of the trip. I
you.
love
I
it.
mean, you got to see
It's
Team 200 KG's last match for who knows how long. That's
yeah,
that's special too.
and I got to see Mika Iwata live. My favorite on the roster.
Right.
So
Did you get to see all your favorites? Was there anyone you missed?
in Joshi?
Yeah.
Oh,
Overall, you must
uh,
have seen them
I
all, right?
mean, of course, the entire Dragging It roster I couldn't watch, but
Of
in
course.
Joshi, I don't think I was missing anyone.
Yeah,
Um,
because you essentially hit every promotion, and
yeah,
yeah, you
I
must. Yeah, you definitely saw them all. You saw
other
Tam,
other other than
Misa.
people be yes, other than
You saw
people
Tam
being
lose.
injured, yeah,
Were you able to see her get?
hung.
Where? Yeah, where were you for
No,
that?
I was over her, so I couldn't look down and see.
Oh, okay, okay. Did they at least have it on a video screen?
They had it on the video screen.
Okay. I wish it happened on the opposite side so you could have saw that because
Yeah,
that must have been
yeah,
a crazy visual.
and
Uh,
it was annoying because the day before, the same situation, but I
oh,
was
really?
also on the other side because Chris Brooks and Sasaki did like brawling
And
underneath
they,
me there, and then they did the same for.
that's crazy.
So I did tell you I got to meet Arisa Nakajima at Seedling.
Yes, which was a lovely story.
Yeah,
Just
I got to talk with her for like three minutes or so,
that's
which
awesome.
was awesome. I think yeah, I got to see everyone that I
That's
would
awesome.
want to watch. I think.
That's
Um, yeah, I can't really think of anyone. I guess because of Fujimoto, because I didn't go to Ice Room. That's the
yeah,
one Joshi
sure,
promotion I didn't go to.
sure, sure.
Um,
And you went to the TJPW Ition show, correct?
yes.
How was that experience?
Oh, amazing.
Obviously a great show with some top of the line matches in the
Yeah,
at
I
the
mean,
end, but you also got to I think as I like to say, whether you like TGPW or not, I think everyone should experience that show live, because it's very
it's like
different.
DDT. It's
Yeah,
exactly like DDT.
right. You have the seriousness, you have obviously the comedic points. You kind of have a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I did get to meet Rika Tatsumi at the DDT show.
Okay. Oh,
So
that's cool.
so I didn't bother going to the meet and greet for
Yeah,
CGPW
yeah.
because they were doing it on the other side of like not the other side, but they were doing it a bit further away from the dome area.
Mhm.
So I wouldn't if I had done that, I wouldn't have made it to eat
Sure.
dinner before the dome.
Yeah, you made the right call.
Yeah.
How much time was between that show and the dome?
About 2.5 hours.
No, that's a good amount of time. That's a good amount of
But
time.
I did hear that the Lions at the TGPW meet and greet, they did go for like a long time, which makes
Mhm.
sense. Probably
Yeah,
like the building is half foreigners, so a lot of
mhm.
foreigners are going to go to the meet and greet.
That makes
Um,
sense. That makes sense. Yeah, I can imagine that takes a long time. Uh, looking at the entire, scope of your trip, who would you call, like, the MVP that you saw? Like, who is, like, the most standout wrestler for you? And this can be Joshi, this could just be overall.
um, First of all, I want to just do one more meet and greet story about Shinjuku
Oh,
Face.
absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
Shinjuku Face, it's a very cramped area. For
Yes.
JTO, the, the they have like a smoking room, which a lot of buildings have,
Okay.
where people can go and smoke.
Mhm.
That's at the end of a hallway that leads also to a escape step, like stairs room,
Yeah.
and I think also leads to a door that leads backstage.
Okay.
So at JTO, before you get to the smoking room, there's like this big lobby area, kind of,
Mhm.
that's right next to the elevators, and all of the JTO male wrestlers was in that lobby area for the meet and greets. But who's the most popular people in JTO? It's the girls. And
Right.
the
Right.
girls, they were all the way next to the escape room, and the smoking room. So there was like, you could barely stand in line. And there was, after I had met with the Inaba sisters, and
Yeah.
like, so I met a foreigner when I was making my way back out to the lobby, and he was like, "Whose line is this? I don't know. I don't know where I'm heading." And I
Oh
was
my
like, "Okay,
god.
so Rina Yamashita is all the way back there. Uh, Big Haruka and the Inaba sisters are next to her,
Gotcha.
all the way back
That's
there."
crazy.
It
The
was so crazy. But yeah, one final thing about mini grids is that if you're traveling to Japan, portraits is the best way to support the wrestlers, that is cheapest, because you don't have to pay for the signing. You'll just buy a portrait and they'll sign it, and then
Mhm.
they can personalize it to you. uh, at most shows a portrait would be like 2k yen, um, and always have cash. They do not take cards.
Good. Yeah, that makes sense. Can't blame them there. Uh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And in terms of your, like, MVP of the trip
Yes.
or plural, it could be multiple.
Yeah, I'll say that, for wrestling as a whole, I this trip really showed me how over Chris Brooks is as a champion.
Okay.
Because he had lines.
Yeah.
Apparently, at the January 3rd Korakuen that I didn't go to for DDT, his line
Mhm.
went all the way back to the lobby in the first floor from the fifth floor.
That's crazy. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so he is very over. There is a reason why DDT is pushing Chris Brooks really hard. Just for
Would you
the
say he was
people
the
who don't
most
know.
over in terms of
Of the
I
male
should
wrestlers I saw,
actually
yes.
I do have a question for you after this in terms of each promotion you saw, in terms of, like, reactions. So,
Okay,
I'll let
yeah.
you go through the MVPs.
I'll say that Itsuki Aoki, who I have never been that
Okay.
huge of a fan of, is an
Mhm.
amazing vibe live. She is such, like, I've watched like at least 4 matches of her because she was
Mhm.
everywhere, of course.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
and
Yeah,
she is a
checks out.
big highlight of just entertainment. She brings the crowd into everything she does, and
Mhm.
it's very fun to watch her matches.
Mm.
I would say both the Yaguro Yokota matches I watched, which was 2 matches in Oz Academy, both of them shocked me of how good she is live still.
Yeah,
Just the bumps she's taking is crazy.
that's a legend right there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
that's awesome.
Meiko Satomura, of course, a big MVP of my trip.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome as she is.
Still at the top of her game, and she's
Yeah,
wrapping it up.
it's exactly what you would expect from her.
Yeah,
I would say Kakeru Sekiguchi, very,
Kakuro
very fun
Sekiguchi.
live. Very, very
Okay.
fun live. And
Now
very,
you
very
saw
friendly.
her in Seedling, obviously, in her
Yes.
mask. You saw her in Oz in
It's
that
in Oz
gimmick.
I was mainly talking about.
Okay, yeah, I figured. Did you see her as like just Kakuro Sekiguchi?
Yes, in prominence.
Okay, so you saw all levels of her.
Yeah,
That's great.
yeah.
Okay, that's great. I love that.
VENY live is amazing.
Yeah,
Like when you hear a VENY strike live, it's kind of crazy. And of course, I
yeah,
have
that
like
checks out.
even though I only saw one AOE match, I have to shout it out because that performance against Rino Yamashita was amazing.
Seemed like a career-altering performance just based
Oh
on the
yeah,
photos and everything. And there was great reaction coming out of that show from obviously the people in the building like yourself. So
there's a headbutt in the match that still rings in my ears.
God, I need that to make tape so bad. I need to make tape so bad. I have it like circled on a thing because of like how you described it originally. Now it's just like, all right, let's Taka, I need you to get this up, please. Thank you.
Um, I would say also Fuminori Abe in the male wrestling is
Mm-hmm.
just live. He's just such a vibe,
Yeah.
and
How was seeing Kento live?
oh, goosebumps.
Because you were like, if I remember correctly, you were at the Yogi show and you were like right next to the entrance, right?
Yes, yeah,
So that must have been awesome to
it
see
was
that.
very awesome.
Okay, I love that. So Sekiguchi, Aoi, Meiko, Aoki for Joshi.
Yeah.
Those would be your four main MVPs. I think that's a great kind of I think you kind of capture very well how great the scene still is. And as I have said on this show over the past couple weeks, the scene feels like it's in a great spot right now. And I think that just furthers that. I do want to
Oh,
ask you
yeah. I also
because
have to shout out Ryu Mizunami. Also, like
oh
such
well,
a
of
fun,
course.
of
Uh,
course.
respect to Aniki always. I and that does bring me, I think, to the question for each promotion you saw. You can include the men's here because I do think this is important. Who do you feel was the most over at each company when you were in the building?
I hate saying it, but for a lot of the Joshi shows where she was in the building for it, Unagi Sayaka was so over.
You didn't go. So you didn't go to the Stardom one where you because
No,
so I did have someone on last week that was at that show and they said like you could hear a pin drop during that match, which is
that
odd.
makes sense. That
Very
that's
odd
actually
though,
odd
considering.
because she is so over in
Right, and it
the
was Tam.
yeah
Now, now to hear a pin drop, it's a little extreme, but like it was odd for that one. Like Aya Sakura and Chi-Chi had more noise than those two did, which
yeah.
is real to be fair.
Unagi was
Okay, so
so
Unagi was
so
super over.
over in Seedling in Oz Academy. It was just
Interesting.
I didn't
She
like it, but
she
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 did.
was once sh- she has made herself go from oh she's the former Stardom wrestler to no she is a proven draw for freelance, and I think that's
Yeah,
whether you like Unagi or not, it's an impressive
that
accomplishment she's had.
the main event of the Oz Academy show on the 5th of January, which was Mizunami versus Unagi. That is Unagi's career match, in my opinion. But I have always not been a high Unagi fan. So the main event of the Oz Academy show on the 5th, which was Rima Tsunami versus Unagi, is like easily the Unagi highlight match of her career for me.
Yeah.
I
of her career.
I
Okay.
was very impressed with that match.
Yeah.
And most of that is because of Mizunami, but Unagi also held her own, and she
Mhm.
was so over in the building.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I haven't heard too much about that match, but I'll have to go back and watch it then. If
I do recommend watching Saori Anu versus Kuhaku from that show also.
okay. Okay.
That's like one of my favorite sub 10-minute matches this year
Interesting. Interesting.
or
I
the
think
last
I
2 years.
saw someone say something about that. I'll go back and watch it for sure then. That was the show with the big tournament, right?
Yeah, the loser tournament.
Okay. Um s- Inagi. Yeah, I guess I shouldn't be shocked. She did get a vote in the Tokyo Sports voting again. So that's always
um,
funny.
so Unagi was very over. Uh, I would say in the building for both shows I went to with Sari, she was over as you would expect.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. So Sari, Unagi, how about in who's
I,
over most in the Sumo Hall Stardom show?
Starlight Kid. It was pretty easily Starlight Kid.
Okay. Yeah,
and
that checks out.
it's very funny because I did not. I have never been a Starlight Kid guy.
I know you haven't. I know you haven't.
And that match was like, it's fine. I feel so bad because I'm such a low person on that match, even though I was in the building for it. But I
That's
was like,
interesting.
this is nothing compared to Natsuko Tora versus Maika. This is nothing compared to that match because that match was insane.
Yeah, that match really captured a lot of people. So I don't think you're crazy by saying that by any
Like
stretch either.
Tora and Maika are two people I have never been a fan of either
Right,
that
right, right,
much.
right.
So when I watched that match, I was actually impressed.
Yeah, they really shocked a lot of people, I think. Myself included, because going into that I was like, I don't know, man.
And then Kid and Poi did what they always do, and I
Sure.
was like, this is Kid and Poi.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't a like match of the year contender person on that like some people were, but I did think they did a great job, and then obviously like the unique main event, I think I'll call it.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
always the
Sayaka
best
Mitani
way.
was so over. It was
Yeah,
weird.
I figured Sai was very over. She's a very unique situation where she's
I
very
will
over as
say,
a heel.
I did like Sayaka Mitani versus Kuhaku more than Sayaka Mitani versus Tom.
Okay, yeah,
Even though
that just
I
got
didn't even
uploaded,
go
so
to
I do want to see
Kamitani
that.
versus Kuhaku. But I watched it live. I watched it on Stardom World. I didn't watch it
Yeah, I gotta
in
watch
person.
it. I've heard it's good. I've heard it's good. Okay, so we have that. Sareee was most over on the shows you saw her. How about TJPW?
Oh, that is hard because I felt like the entire roster was like
Over,
TJPW
yeah,
over, but
sure.
TJPW over, where
Yeah,
it's like they
I
react
just
to the classic like TJPW gimmicks and stuff like that, and like of course, Hyper Misao gets some of the most streamers at Itinion.
mhm. Yeah,
I will say that Mizuki winning, Miyu Watanabe was definitely the least favorite in the building in that match. Like
interesting. That
people
is
were
interesting.
very much wanting the Mizuki win there
Well, it was
in
a
the
good
building.
call then. We'll give
Oh
them
yeah,
credit for making that change. Um, all right. Well, I love to hear about your trip. I love to kind of get the ins and outs. I think getting the meet and greet aspect, the in the
I'll
venue aspect.
I'll
Oh, go
say
ahead.
one more thing for actress Korakuen. For actress Korakuen, they had a new rookie debuting, Yukina
Okay.
Uehara, who is a former gravure model.
Mm-hmm.
The guy next to me had a class. It was a Japanese guy. He probably is like in his 40s or something. He had a classic like Japanese camera, like as you see in every Joshi show.
Yeah.
Every time Yukina Uehara had her back turned to our section, that camera would not shut up. It was
Oh my
like
god.
it was blasting.
That's crazy. Well, how was that show? How did you enjoy the actress show?
Oh,
Obviously.
it was very fun.
Oh yeah.
I'll be reviewing it this week on Actor Stage.
See, we got to get the plugs in. There we go.
Where we also will be talking about actors as a whole in 2024, and that was not good. But this show was a good ender to a very bad year for actress girls.
Yeah, not the best year for them. It was cool to see Takase on that show.
Yeah, I wish she had wrestled a good actress girls wrestler, but
still cool to see her though.
Yeah,
back in actress for a show. All right, well,
her English is very good.
Oh yeah,
because I did meet her at one of the shows. I think at Sunday Girls.
She does come to America a decent amount. I've always heard good things about her. So, all right, well, before we wrap up your trip here, I just want anything else that you haven't got to talk about that either people should know or you just want people to know before we move on to the review portion of the show.
A lot of the Joshis are not that great in English, but they will all try.
Oh, that's nice of them.
It's something that you always have to remember. They'll all try, so you don't feel pressured about feeling that you have to talk Japanese to them. Just start with a konbanwa or a konnichiwa if it's in the day and if it's in the evening, and then they'll hear that you are immediately a foreigner, and they'll ask your name, have your name written down on your phone so you don't have to spell it out, and stuff like that. Victoria Yuzuki is the best, and Aoi, they were the two best English speakers of the entire trip. Yuzuki was almost perfect, and Aoi was perfect. Her English was perfect.
Wow. Aoi. Okay, that's good to know.
Also for JTO shows, if you want to go to JTO, Aoi will make sure that you get great tickets if you just DM her on Twitter.
That's awesome. Love that. I don't know if you ever saw it, but like Marigold does these videos, and they did like the school one where they did academics, and Yuzuki ended up dead last.
yeah.
Out of the whole roster. So I like to hear that she's great at English at least.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's good to know. Obviously, I think that's obviously a very unique part is that for some companies, some wrestlers, you message them for tickets, so that's always good to know. And good to hear that Aoi will hook you up with some good ones for a JTO show. Obviously, fitting that she did it for the show where she was going to be the MVP of the show. I think that's awesome. Anything else like that we may have missed in terms of the trip, the experience, just for yourself, even, it doesn't have to be to help others, just overall for yourself, and kind of seemingly a trip of a lifetime.
Always recommend going to wrestling bars, even if you don't drink when you're in Tokyo. I went to Bar Kato, which is a bar up in Saitama next to the Ice Cream Dojo. That had a me year-end party when I went there, me from Actors Girls. And also someone from Colors was there. Let me just, she's hurt right now, so I don't remember her name.
Amikura,
yeah. She was there. Being Amikura, and that was a very fun time. Me getting when I told her that my favorite was Erisa Nagai from Actors Girls and Misa Matsui from Marigold, she immediately was like, "Oh, Marigold, no," because Actors Girls.
Okay, that's fair.
Which was very funny, and of course, it's you get to see the wrestlers get drunk because they were pretty drunk.
So
um,
go to wrestling bars. That is
Natsu Bar, not the
Natsu.
Sumerus Bar, is a very friendly English speaking place. It's
Okay.
in Shinjuku. They were holding their, how they were doing things was that Haku-san was like there almost every
Okay.
day, and the rule was that they'll continue going until throughout the night until they get sick of the people in the bar.
Wow.
So I did hear from a friend that he had been there until 5 a.m. one day.
Whew. Oh my gosh.
And trust me,
That's
they
crazy.
make money out of the foreigners who come there.
Oh, I can believe it. I can believe it. Okay. So the that seems like a great
And
time alone.
it's
Whether
also,
you drink or not, as you said.
yeah, in this time period that I went there
Yeah.
during, there were people like every day I could meet up with a wrestling fan and hang out with them.
That's awesome.
Like and at every show I saw someone I had seen at the last show.
That's really cool. I love hearing how many people just go to so many shows. I think that's
Yeah,
always so
and
great.
it's so easy to like find out what we're going to do after a show
Right.
by meeting people at shows.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Like there was one guy who isn't on Twitter, isn't on Blue Sky, isn't online at all, and
on anything.
he just knows me now. He immediately was like, "Oh, you do podcasts? That's awesome, man."
That is awesome. I love that. Okay. I think that's all I have to ask. So ultimately, before we head to the reviews, is did you cover everything you think? I mean, you did so many shows, you saw so many wrestlers.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it just seems like the ultimate experience of if you want to go
I
to Japan, this is the time to go, especially if you're going as a wrestling fan.
thing is, I it's been nice to talk about the trip like this as a whole because
Yeah.
on Dramatic Dream Rankings, I of course only talked about DDT. Uh,
Hmm.
yes, this earlier this weekend when I did Marigold fighting Marigold, we only talked about Marigold. So
Yeah.
now getting to talk about all of the other shows, it was nice.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'm happy I got
The-
to hear from you to do that because obviously, like you said, we are trying to make the almost impossible happen after two big shows in the middle of the night for you.
yeah,
Uh, I'm happy we kind of turned it around here, and we'll still get to review a show,
honestly,
obviously.
reviewing a whole show after you've gone to it, it's hard
Yeah,
because you have that live experience.
right.
That
It's very different. It's so
yeah,
different from seeing it in person,
and
obviously. So I get that.
my I I think even though I was in the building for it, I would have been pretty down on the Stardom show as a whole because I wasn't
Interesting.
like I'm not that big of a Stardom guy. I've noticed. I think I've grown out of them.
Yeah, yeah.
the I think 2024 was the year where I grew away from Stardom
Hmm.
for a time.
Yeah.
Even though I still like a lot of wrestlers there, I noticed during the show that I was not into a lot of the
You
stuff they
weren't
were
in.
doing.
Yeah, you weren't as into it. Interesting. Well, it's always good to realize those things. But what I do know is that you are into Marigold. So
Yes,
we
kind of.
will start our review here, talking the Marigold Korakuen Hall show from this past weekend. It was their first Korakuen of 2025, including 3 title matches to close out the show. The show opened with Chiaki versus Ryoko Sakamura. Uh, very, very basic singles match between the rookie and Chiaki to get Chiaki a win. Not too much to talk about there, I think. It did go 9 minutes, which was a bit of a shock. But this show, considering how many matches were on the show, I did think it had a good pace to it. Overall, as someone who watched it live, started at 9:30 Eastern. It was over before 12.
It
So
started.
I'll
It
take that.
started at 3:30 a.m. for me, so I watched
Whew.
it today.
Yeah, good call. Good call. We then had Chikagoto defeating Yuki Minami in 7 minutes and 25 seconds with a choke slam.
Man,
Um,
Cage match annoys me so much. It's Yuki Minami. It's not Minami Yuki. Also,
yeah,
it's
yeah, I know.
Kane Miku. It's not Miku Kane.
So it's Kane Miku and it's Yuki Minami. Yes?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
I did not know the Kane Miku one. I knew the Yuki
Because
Minami one.
because like Kanamik, she can still have
Oh,
the Kanamik chant going
that
if she
makes sense.
is like
Oh,
the reason why people has gotten confused is because Japanese announcers will announce the last
right, they
name and
say it.
then the
Yeah.
first name,
Yeah.
but it is Kane Miku for
Good to
Kanamik.
know. Good to know moving forward. I actually did not know that. The Chikagoto Yuki Minami match, for what it's worth, was better than I expected. It wasn't like blow
I
away or anything,
I
but
love Chika Goto's new look. It's very cool.
yes, yes, she does. She looks like a bigger star, I think, with it overall.
Also,
We
was acting kind of heelish in the.
She was. Chikagoto is kind of going down an interesting path now, obviously with Koki out, but following how that match had to happen. There's a little bit more of an edge to her, which I think is good. I think it's a welcome sight for her. After that was Naoshikawa and Rhea Seto versus Naho Yamada and Riara, with Seto and Ishikawa getting the win. This was Riara's non-Rumble debut for Marigold after she had missed the prior weekend. I love Naho Yamada. Obviously, Sondre, you know a lot of her
Yep,
from
Ben.
her previous time in Actress Girls. I think she is great. Like, I think she stands out every match she's in. It's
She has
always a
had
losing effort, but
she has
I
had
think she does a great
no
job.
she has had no problem transitioning over.
Yeah,
Not
she's awesome.
like unlike Hummingbird, who is miscast in a role. She should not
Mhm.
be a high flyer, and all of the people who see her saw her an actress will know that she should not be a high flyer like the way they have pushed her, and she
Mhm.
has obviously wanted to be pushed. Um, but now Yamada is just doing what she did in Actress Girls, and it's
Yeah,
serving her really well because she's great.
she is. She is. I liked her and Riara as a duo, but it was Ishikawa and Seto that got the
I
win here.
I don't know if
Um,
you heard me at the New Year's Eve show, but I was very Naho Yamada. I did a lot of Naho Yamada callouts on that
that's
show
awesome. That's awesome.
because, like, I just have to also preface on the New Year's Eve show. I and a lot of the friends I came there with showed up very drunk because
Yeah,
it
I
was
mean,
10 p.m. on New
yeah,
Year's Eve.
yeah, yeah. That makes sense. um,
Also, I did not like that show. It was
the New Year
like
show.
the countdown was nice, but they had like half an hour of recap of the year and awards,
Oh
which was
yeah.
just waste of time. Such a waste of time.
We then had Mariah Misa Matsui
Good
versus
team.
Miku Ano and Natsumi Shizuki. I thought this match was a lot of fun. Kind of the uh, you know,
Match of the
clicking
night
the
for
next
me.
gear on this show. Okay. Yeah, I thought this was very well done as expected. I think Mariah and Misa are an awesome team if they ever want. I think my biggest takeaway from this match was like, I don't know if they're ever going to go with these two because obviously Mariah teams with my Sakurai, but if they did, I think these two would make a great
It,
duo.
it annoys me so much because they have the perfect unit. If they have Mirai as a unit leader, Mai Sakurai as the second, Misa Matsui as the high speed wrestler, and like throw in Nao Yamada and Nao Ishikawa, and then you have the silliest unit of all time, and it's perfect.
I, as I said in my prediction show, I do think we are on our way to faction soon enough.
Please,
And I think Matsui and Mirai are a perfect duo to be
because
together.
they're
So
they're kids.
yeah,
They act like kids.
they
So
are. And I love Aono and Suzuki together. I think they should probably
oh
have a
yeah,
tag run eventually. Um, not anytime soon. I like to chill out on the tag belts. We'll get to that in a little bit.
I mean.
But I do think they can be the heelish team to actually take the belts from the new champions. Not full on heel, but a
Yeah.
little bit of
Yeah.
grit, a little bit of
So
nastiness.
I love this match because I finally got to see a actual Misamatsui match. And
Yeah, she's getting a lot of them all of a sudden. To be fair,
yeah, well, you know why? Because she's gonna be the next challenger for the high speed. And
well, she
then
had a big match this weekend, which kind of came out of nowhere considering she's challenging, which we'll talk about.
oh
I'm
yeah,
very
that's true.
excited. Very excited for that one. But yeah, this was very good as you expect with these four. It was good to see Misa Matsui get the win. She hit the I forget the name of the actual move, but a sit out power bomb that literally had me pop out of my chair. I was like, that was
Oh,
great. Like
I
that
know
was
the move. I
great.
know the name of the move. I
Yeah.
should know the name of the move.
I can't think of it, but it was like it was a version of a gut wrench sit out power bomb,
Yeah,
which was
she
great.
she debuted that in her last couple of
Yeah.
months with Actress Girls.
Yeah, she's so good. She's just so good. To be fair, all four are great.
Yeah.
So when this match was put on the show, you knew it was going to be one of the best on the show. Then we had Utami Hayashishita versus Megaton.
MMB Misamatsui bomb.
Oh, thank you. The Misa Matsui bomb. That's real. I like that. And then we had Utami versus Megaton. This was a complete comedy match. This was the Megaton experience.
Uh,
Best to say.
so as someone who know
You
Megaton
yes.
from Actress Girls,
Yes. Yes.
this is her strength. Comedy
Yep.
is what she can do.
I
She's
thought
not
she
she's
did a
not a
great
good
job.
wrestler. She can only do comedy spots.
I thought she did a great job,
Yeah.
honestly. I like listen, I, I don't really um for me, I don't really need her to do much more than just this. Like she's there to get pinned and make the crowds laugh, and the crowd were
Yeah.
into Megaton, right? It's it's a similar way of the Fukigen death
Yeah.
aspect in Stardom, um, where Megaton was getting all the cheers by being comedic, and Utami was not impressed by any stretch. But
Like she's
it was
42.
yeah, she's here to fill this one role, and it's
Yes.
a role she does well.
Yeah.
I think for Utami, this was a way to get her a singles entrance on the show as the new world champion, and not much more. It was a harmless match that I
Yep.
think was very funny, and that's coming from someone that doesn't really like comedy a lot. I know that Dylan mocks me all the time for it, so it's fine. But I thought they did a good job, and Utami did good in her role as
I'll
like I
say
don't want anything to do with this woman.
this match was more entertaining than Utami versus Tank.
Uh, that's fair. That's fair. Then we had the Superfly Championship match. It was Victoria Yuzuki successfully defending for the very first time against former Ice Cross Affinity champion Yuki Mishiro. Yuki
Let's go.
Mishiro heading into Marigold a little bit. She's on the one of the upcoming cards this weekend, so it looks like she'll be sticking around, which is good to
Hopefully.
see. So Yuzuki, obviously, I'm a big fan of hers. Sondre is a big fan of hers. I think everyone
Huge fan of her.
should be a big fan of her. She is the future, obviously, and she just gets it. Like I bring this up every time she has a match because, like, I think sometimes when it comes to rookies, you kind of just expect them to work on the basics for so long and then do the
Yeah.
same few moves. Victoria Yuzuki doesn't do that. She just
No.
does new things every single match she has, and it's awesome. Like it
And
really is.
I think that is why she has a lot of like detractors
Yeah.
because they'll see her fail at the new move that she's workshopping, and they'll shit on her, even though a lot of the stuff she's workshopping, like a couple of shows after, she hits it really
It's
well.
great. Yeah.
And
You don't know until you try it,
yeah,
like
and
and she has so much now like that.
That's why I've always been a fan of her, and especially in
Yeah.
Marigold, after when she jumped, of course, with them,
Yeah.
because this is her role. Like she's a
Yeah.
workshopping. Like it reminds me so much of early Stardom, of seeing like Asumi workshop new things and
Yeah.
stuff like that,
It's
and
very similar.
it's so entertaining. I ended up giving her Rookie of the Year
Yeah.
for 2024, and a lot of that is because of how she always improves on everything she
Yeah.
does, but
Mhm.
also it's her very unique charisma. Like
Yeah.
she's very standout. She stands out a lot.
She
She's
does.
very entertaining on the mic. She's very entertaining in just building feuds and stuff. She again, she is one that desperately needs to be like the number 2 in a unit, and hate
Yeah.
that they haven't done units yet. Like
I
it's
I get
just it's perfect. Her as Utami's number 2, it's perfect.
yeah. She has a great understanding of who she is as a wrestler
Yes.
that I think it can be tough for certain rookies to have. I think we're actually in a very impressive time though when it comes to rookies because like
Oh
you know you look at Chi
oh
for
yeah.
Evo, right? She gets who she is. She knows who she is, and she stands out because of that. Victoria Yuzuki's doing the same thing. She knows who she is. She's going to try these new things. She's going to lead and cut these promos, and it just lets her stand out, which is great. And I thought her and Mashiro
I,
had
I
good chemistry. I just wish it went longer. It was only
Speaking
8 minutes.
uh we also have like Yuna in Girls also knows who she is. It is like
Yeah,
a very technical. She knows that she's great at technical stuff, so she'll do technical stuff.
yeah. There's
Um,
there's a list of rookies that
yeah, I
I
I
think get it,
I
and I
did
think it's
find it
great.
funny because I saw someone give Eureka Oka Rookie of the Year for 2024, and I laughed my ass off. It was so dumb.
Yeah, she's not a rookie. I think most improved could have been one.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
mean,
maybe like you could have gave her breakout. Yeah, she's not a
yeah.
rookie though. She's not a
I
rookie though.
mean,
She did have a great
it,
year.
it, it was the first year where she really got to do something, I guess.
Yes.
So
Yes. Yeah, Yuzuki got rookie of the year here. And I think deservedly so. I thought she had like I said, a great performance in this match. She hit Mashiro with a Sareee style bottom rope drop kick that
yeah,
snapped the poor girl's neck. And I was like, I think and I say this every time with Yuzuki, but my favorite thing about her is she wrestles a wrestler and she's like, "Oh, I like that move. I'm taking that for myself." She
oh yeah,
she does the super kicks exactly like Mayu Iwatani, which shouldn't come
yeah.
as a shock considering who she obviously loves and
I I
uh
do think that this match is kind of
learned
like
from.
a first of a series.
Yep,
Hopefully, it
I
should be a
agree.
first of a series.
I agree. I agree. So that brings us. So Yuzuki gets the win. She said, they kind of have this. She's like, she loved to face Mashiro again, and she goes to shake her hand. And Mashiro pokes her in the eyes and runs away. That got me good. That got me good. I was like, yeah, I need Mashiro to come back. Thankfully, she is on the card this weekend.
Yeah,
So it seems like she'll be involved.
I already want to fantasy book Mashiro and Miss Matsui as a tag team because they're both very
So
similar.
so we will talk about where Mashiro lines up right now, but I think there's a lot of possibilities depending how much she is around. I know she's doing the 0-1 thing as well soon, but it seems 0-1 doesn't run a ton. So I'm gonna guess she's gonna be able to jump into here a bit as well. But Misa Matsui will be the next challenger for Victoria Yuzuki. So they are going to the big match. I think of this reign for Yuzuki. I'm fascinated to see how that one goes. It should be great. It should be great. They have a Shinjuku face coming up in February.
Oh, that in
So
Shinjuku face is perfect.
yeah, I think that's probably where it is because that's before Korakuen. It feels like that could be a great way to highlight those two in a big match. Maybe put them in the main event if you want to hold off on
Please.
presumably Utami and Bozilla for Korakuen. Again, I don't know if it's Utami and Bozilla, but she's now wrestled Tank and Megaton. So I'm just kind of assuming it is Shinjuku face on Friday, February 7th. So definitely a possibility for that show to be the one. Um, because they don't have Korakuen until the 20th. So definitely seems like, because that was the only title match set up here. Then we go to the United National Championship match. Mai Sakurai's first defense of the pure white belt, defending against Nagisa Nozaki. Nagisa Nozaki knows her role. I think she always does a great job in her role. I thought this match was very physical, as you'd expect with Nozaki. I think it was very. I found this match to be an interesting one because obviously Nozaki is not someone that was going to win. You know, you're just defense number one. But I thought she did a good job in helping Mai Sakurai get to where she needs to go in this title reign, because I think that's the importance for me. And I say this when I watch Marigold, and people can get mad at me all they want when I compare this and Stardom. Stardom's supposed to be here, okay? So this just how I view them and how I view Marigold. And this defense, I think you look at the white belts differently. At least I do. I look at the Wonder of Stardom title differently than I do the United National. I think people kind of want to just automatically make them the same thing, but I don't think that's the case.
No.
I don't think that's the case at all. And I think the uniqueness with Mai Sakurai is this title reign, as we've seen consistently over the past couple months, is to establish her as, again, further establish her the top star. So you put her in a match with Nozaki, a great veteran who plays the heel role, and she's gonna play the heel. No one's gonna cheer, and it's gonna help Mai Sakurai in the end overcome and get the win, which I thought she did a good job at. I thought my favorite spot of the match was when Nozaki was going for one of her kicks and Mai just took her out with like her variation of a kick where she just kind of like launches her legs up essentially. And Nozaki came crashing down. I thought that was a good spot. In the end, she won with the Glorious Driver. So no STF win, which I prefer. I prefer the Glorious Driver getting the win. That's just always a me thing. I'm not a big
the only time the STF worked was against Meiko.
Yeah, that was a great shock.
That was such a shock. And
yes. I think
what a match win. That match was so good.
Yeah, those two hit a home run. And I think this was a very good start for Mai Sakurai. I don't think it was that. I don't think this match hit that high, obviously.
Yes,
but I thought it was a very good first defense.
I thought this was exactly what I expected it to be. Like it was.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to look at it. Honestly.
It was like it didn't reach the 4-star level, but
sure,
Nozaki rarely does for me. So and
it didn't hit the 4-star level for me, but
it's like
mark.
It definitely hit the mark. It's what I would expect. A lot of interferences. I desperately hope that they don't do Shiaki next, because I don't think that's good for either Shiaki or Mai Sakurai.
I don't think so either. I think they should just do regular singles if they're going to do that.
Yeah, because they did a lot of interference spots here, which worked. I thought was entertaining enough. I am not a fan. This might be I'm not a fan of Nagisa Nozaki being the first to challenge twice for the white belt.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm worried that she's gonna land into that Jungle Keona always challenging, always being a V1 or V2.
Sure.
Because it will make every Nagisa Nozaki match so predictable. Like, oh, someone won the white belt. I guess when is Nagisa challenging?
Yeah, I'm hopeful that doesn't happen as well. For the first two, sure. We'll obviously see. I mean, I say the same thing when it comes to I've been saying the thing with Suzuki and Stardom. She was the last challenger.
Oh, that's so annoying.
She was the last challenger for Tam, and now she's the first for Saya. So
I hate that so much.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that we don't fall into that trap now with Nozaki. Oh, actually, no. Wait a minute. Koki challenged first against Alan. No, sorry, I forgot about that. So she's the second defense. So same.
Yeah.
But
she still did two titles. She has challenged both champions.
Yeah.
Who do you want Mai Sakurai to defend against next?
That's a great question. I actually sat there this entire match thinking, who could possibly challenge my Sakurai after this, because I don't want the rematch with Miku Ano. I think Miku Ano should be stepping up, and facing Utami soon enough, not like the next one, but at a big show. I think that makes sense. I don't think Yuzuki should go that high yet. Obviously, Shizuki is not going to be it. She's lost a bunch of times recently. So it's tough, and you don't want to do the Mirai match yet.
Mirai, yeah, that's big. That's show.
That feels like the big one for Shine Forever.
I would do Naoshikawa.
I think Naoshikawa is a great one. You could throw that on, and she's starting to kind of pile up some wins quietly, which I don't think maybe a lot of people are noticing. But I think that would be a great option.
Still not a fan of her getting her first win on a house show in Nagoya. I hated it when it happened because that story had gone since the start. It was so frustrating.
I know. I get that. I think my two options right now for like a defense from my Sakurai to get in would be either Naoshikawa, which I think is a great shout, or with a little time you build Chikagoto back up for a title match. I think that's kind of a direction. Chikagoto starting to pile up some wins all of a sudden. She's kind of being put in those spots. So with the upcoming singles matches this weekend as well. So I think both of those are options. Because I'm saving Mirai, obviously. I'm saving a Yuzuki possibility.
Saving Seri.
Oh, very much. Yeah. Yes. Also, probably smart.
Even though I would not be surprised if Seri is a challenger for the white belt this year.
Oh, I actually would be shocked if she wasn't.
Yeah.
At this stage, it's just like we'll give her a little time. But yeah, I think there is some chances for some of the lower card wrestlers to kind of step up into a big title match. I think that's
hopefully
the opportunities you want to see from them. If she was booked to win, I would always scream from the mountains, Naho Yamada, but she doesn't win, so I can't get my hopes up for that. But we'll see. We'll see who they build up. I mean, I don't know what their plans are for Riara, but she seems to be a everyday roster member as well moving forward. So that's good to see for her. Not yet. I'm just thinking of potential people as this reign goes on, because I'm sure they're going to want to pile up some for my Sakurai. There's a lot of people that I think are world title challengers now, like Miku Ano, Mirai's both for now. I think Mirai challenges for both titles this year.
Yeah, I have that on the 25th, this upcoming weekend in Yokohama.
Yes,
that Utami and Yuzuki versus Miku and Seri match. I have that circled.
Yeah, it's very exciting. We'll briskly go over the cards, because I think there's very exciting cards this weekend. But let's get to our main event from this show, which kind of should have gave everyone an idea of how this result was going to go, I think. But your main event was the Twin Star Championship match. It was Bozilla and Tank versus the super rookie Sareee Yamaoka and Nanai Takahashi. So, folks, I said in my preview last week, this match could go like two ways. It could be a mess, like I thought the first rematch was.
Yeah.
Or they would have Bozilla do a lot of the work, and it could be really good. Bozilla did a lot of the work. Bozilla was. I think Bozilla is awesome. I think she's just gotten better and better and better. And what mattered most to me in this match is what they accomplished. And that was that Sareee Yamaoka was getting loud cheers by the end of this match. Yeah. They got her super over. I really enjoyed this match more than I expected. Now, I will say about the Twin Star belts, because someone questioned why, like, three title changes in a month is a lot. I don't want them to change all the time, but this time I did. Okay, this time I needed them to change.
And Tank and Bozilla should have won in the first place. Like,
correct. Which I stressed on the review.
Yes.
And I'll stress it again. I thought, honestly, this could have worked with Nozaki and Chiaki, but they
Like,
wanted the two monsters for Yamaoka and the Nine to come over. Okay.
yeah,
I get it in that sense. And ultimately, in the end, the goal was to get Yamaoka over. And it did.
it did. It did.
And that was the win. All of Korakuen was cheering for the rookie who has 16 days of official experience. Okay.
I don't know if it was on purpose, but the way she pinned Tank
Oh,
after
that
the
was
German,
awesome.
so unique. So
Yeah.
like I've never seen someone do a German suplex
Yeah.
pin like that, and
Yeah.
just amazing.
That was great. Yeah. She's awesome. Like plain and
Um,
simple, folks. I know some people have been iffy. I know some people didn't love her first match because a lot of grappling. Alex specifically, but you
I
know,
didn't like the extension. I did not like the extension.
and I understood that. I had Velke on. Velke
Yeah.
didn't like that either. I understood anyone that didn't. I thought it was a way to make it unique from the Utami match. So
Yeah,
I
but
didn't have a problem with it,
like them
but
doing
I
the
get it.
extension and immediately doing a rest hold for 2 minutes was
Yeah, see, I again, I totally get that. I loved her debut, but
yeah,
I thought this was again the perfect embodiment of what you want her to be right now, which
yeah,
was this baby, and you saw part of this in that Mariah match, right? Mariah
yep,
was destroying her for a lot of that, but then she fights back, and I think when she fights back, she's very exciting because she has a unique strength to her. She's just very good for, again, a rookie who just debuted. Like this, there's a reason they believe in her. There's a reason they're putting her with Nanai in Nanai's retirement reign, by the way. Like this is it for Nanai. This is her last title run. This is it.
yep.
She's retiring in May, and they're putting her
Oh,
with Sareee
it's
Yamaoka, who clearly this means a lot to. Like she's
yeah,
not hiding
yeah.
it, you know.
Like honestly, a like this being a like V3 the rain is
Yeah.
perfect. Like they
Yes.
they'll drop it before Nane's retirement match, and
Mhm.
Nane's retirement match is perfectly set up now to be Seri Yamanoka.
Sure does feel that way, doesn't it? Which,
Yeah,
again, listen, I think people can have whatever thoughts about they are with Nanai. She's awesome. She's always been
she's awesome.
awesome.
She's
I'm so sad she's retiring, but I get it. I totally get it. Like
life is passion.
life is passion. But I'm so excited for this reign. Like I understand, and I have said on this show, like the twin star belts after the Mirai Saku, it's been messy. However, I think the pivot from had there not been the back-to-back switches, right? With Chiaki and Nozaki to to Tank and Bozilla, I think it'd be very different. That being said, I think like you just said, a 2-3 defense reign to end Nanai's career is great because then it
Dropping
leaves,
it
like you
to
said,
hopefully Miku and Natsumi.
that would be my pick. I think that's the most obvious pick right now. You can just give them momentum very quickly. That does it. Those two can lose at any time and have momentum. It feels like, right? I just think they're very unique in that sense. Obviously
But
with Koki out, you can't do that.
yeah, I'm
Twin
sure we
Tower.
have like now we have 3-4 months of them
Yeah,
with the titles,
yeah.
and them dropping it like in late April, right before
Mhm.
May, just makes
Yeah,
sense.
it does. And
I
I'll also say, just before we kind of look at that, I want to say about the match. I thought them fighting around Korakuen was very smart. Uh,
uh
Bozilla was throwing
exposing the
around.
bad attendance, but yes,
Yeah, well, that doesn't affect me. I know it
yeah,
affects a
yeah.
lot of people and makes them very emotional.
Shout
And
out Velke.
I, well, even like Velke is one thing, but like people just love to bring up attendance. Like
Yeah, I know.
I enjoy the wrestling show, folks.
It's very dumb.
Like around the ring was packed. That was good enough for me. Um, if they did the stage like Seedling does, I think it would be very different. It just look
Yes.
maybe better. But anyways, doesn't matter. What I'm bringing up is I thought it was very smart because again, this was a selling opportunity for Yamaoka, who I say she was selling. Bozilla was legitimately throwing this poor girl around. Like this was not like she was not taking it easy. She was bumping through these chairs like crazy. She got thrown through the door on the if you go up the stairs at Korakuen in the bleacher area. She got thrown through the door, but ultimately she comes back around. Like I said, I thought Bozilla did a great job, and Tank was there to get pinned in the end, which Tank's not good. Okay, we don't have to. I don't have to hide that, but I thought they did as good they could as hiding that. The best they could for a match that she had to be involved in.
This didn't expose her as much as the Utami match did.
Yeah, and it helps that they put her with Nanai, and Nanai was
Yes.
just gonna beat the bricks off of her, right? Like
Yeah.
that's what Nanai does. They did the right combination. I liked the end with Seri, like you say, getting that really great looking pin on Tank. I thought that was awesome.
So unique.
I will say at one point I thought Seri's shoulder was gone. There was a point in this match where if she's fine, obviously, but there was a point in this match where she's really favoring the shoulder. And I'm looking at him like, is that out? Like, it's one of those things where you start to over analyze, and then she like just kept going and did the suplex. It's like, oh no, she's fine. All right, cool, sounds good. But that's just she sold really well, and I'm very excited for what Yamaoka and Nanai are as a team. I think they work very well together. I thought it was impressive. I thought it was a great idea to give Sareee the pin, obviously.
Of course.
I was hoping that's what they would do because Nanai had gotten the pins in their first few tags over the weekend, but I was like, as long as she gets the title win, it's great. So I'm very excited for where these two are going. I think the next couple months with a few title matches will be great, and obviously the celebration was awesome. You know, Seri's like, oh, Seri puts Nanai on her shoulders, and they got the Japan flag. It was great. It was great. It was a really cool moment. And she took a picture with Nanai, her mom, and her sister, which was really cool. So, yeah, I thought this was a fun Korakuen. What I look for in these Korakuens, it helps that it started at 9:30, ended at 12 for me. Like it was like the perfect time. Who would you have challenge them first?
Some combination of Misa Matsui and someone else because Misa is facing Nane.
Misa Matsui taking what's I'm just calling the Albright because that's what Seri is taking.
I'm only saying that because Misa Matsui versus Nane is this weekend, and I'm hoping for a Misa roll-up win.
It kind of feels like we might get it, right? It was so randomly scheduled. Like for me, I was like, oh, I didn't expect that. They should just do Mirai and Misa. I don't care.
Yeah.
Just let it happen. Just let it happen. They're too good. They were so good together. But overall, just a good show. A lot of enjoyment out of it.
I have issues with Marigold. Very clear issues with Marigold right now. They desperately need some storytelling. That
I think that's fair.
They desperately need a overall story for the company. Other than just good matches and good wrestlers winning titles.
I agree to that.
This company is lacking in like this. Like I don't want to just say units because that is a major thing they're lacking. They're also
units help a lot
like,
with stories.
Yes, they're also lacking in kind of like, okay, Utami is gonna hold the title, and she right now she's doing this comedy match with Megaton. Like someone should have been out there after that match and
I agree.
Talked with her.
Yeah,
it's a weird thing. I felt like for Korakuen this was weak because they didn't set up anything other than a high-speed title match.
Sure.
And of course new tag champs, but that was what they had to do.
Yeah, I think I get it, and I am in mostly agreement with you. I think the problem there was that it's very likely Bozilla and Bozilla main eventing the show. So it was a tough situation. But I'm with you on, create I think just at least a bigger story. Because I think the main story right now is just these two, Seri and Nanai, and then everything
Yeah,
else is just
but
like
it feels like
matches.
it feels the promotion still feels like it did at the start, where they're just good wrestlers doing good matches, and there's
Mhm,
nothing, there's no story that keeps going through from show to show,
mhm.
and it's weird.
Yeah,
It isn't that entertaining to keep up with Marigold when they're not doing anything to make you want to watch the next
sure.
show. That you feel, oh, I can't miss this upcoming Yokohama Rain and Toll show because something can happen to develop the story that they're
Mhm.
telling. I don't know
Yeah.
what I don't know what the story would be. I don't know. As a guy that watches mainly Dragon Gate, I am used to having at least something noteworthy happen on Korakuen.
Mhm. Yeah, I again, I get that, and I think it's very unique because, like you said, part of me wonders how much injuries affect things. They have had a lot. I'm not saying that's why they don't have stories. I'm just saying I'm wondering. Um, with
Yeah,
Koki and Chikagoto, for example, that was a story that ultimately
yeah,
didn't get to be told. So yeah, I mean, ultimately, I hope that we kind of start to find direction now that the first dream's over, that Korakuen's over. They seemingly have the titles on the people they would now want to have the titles throughout the company. So hopefully, this is a nice Sareee team is, as you kind of lined up earlier, the big story for Nanai as she goes into her retirement.
yeah,
Because I think it'll be an interesting story to tell and through their growth and whatnot. I think I think most importantly, for to follow what you said, I do think when it comes to the world title, it does need a big story like that. Um,
just like
for sure. Because
give her like seconds that she also teams with on
sure,
every show. Like,
I agree. Yeah. I mean, she teams with Yuzuki and Matsui a lot, so it's
yeah,
like they're right there. Well, she teams with Yuzuki a lot.
yeah,
I've
of course.
I've
That,
noticed
that's the
that.
natural pairing.
Yeah. So I am with you. I think you're right. I mean, she teams with Misa this weekend. Um, it's a very interesting spot. I do think factions will be major if and when they put them together, which I hope is soon. But let's look at the upcoming cards here real quick. For the weekend, starting with the Saturday show.
Oh, banger match.
The Saturday show will have one second, let me get to the beginning. Yuki Mishiro and Naoya Ishikawa teaming up. I think they could be a potential team as well. Those two obviously have a relationship that dates back to Ice Ribbon.
Yes.
So I'm sure they're happy to be teaming together. They'll face Ryoseto and Naho Yamada. You'll have Ryoko Sakamura versus Riara in one-on-one action. Tank will face Yuki Minami. Yeah, Natsumi Shozuki and Chikagoto versus Chiaki and Nagisa Nozaki. And
Taku Kame.
then you'll see Mirai Saku team up against Bozilla and Megaton, the same Megaton that Bozilla said she wants nothing to do with on social media. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. You'll also get Nanai Takahashi going one-on-one with Misa Matsui. This was a out of nowhere
Fucking
schedule,
love it.
but obviously
Uh,
excited about it. They had such an
e-
incredible
Every
match
match they
last
have
year.
had, they had
Yeah.
two matches last year.
Oh,
Both
yes,
of
you're
them
right.
were bangers.
Yeah, so I'm
Um,
excited to see what this one looks like. This is
Please, I'm
this is
praying.
I'm very interested because obviously she just challenged for the Superfly, and the obvious direction now you have to wonder is how does she do in match number 3? So
Please tell me that Nane Takahashi likes Misa Matsui. Just put her over. Come on. One roll
and
up. That's all it needs.
and then your probable main event will be Utami Hayashishita and Victoria Yuzuki teaming up against Miku Aono and Seri Yamaoka, which should be very, very good. And then on Sunday's show, you will have 1 second. I had it in front of me, and then my tab crashed. There we go. You have Rei Seto versus Naho Yamada versus Ryoko Sakamura in three-way action. Riara teams up with Nao Shikawa against the Dark Wolf Army, Chiaki and Nagisa Nozaki. Miko Ano and Natsumi Suzuki team. They'll face Chikagoto and Yuki Minami. And then your final two matches of the show, as you see here, if you're watching the YouTube video, is Sareee Yamaoka, Utami Hayashishita, and Misa Matsui versus Mai Sakurai, Mirai, and Victoria Yuzuki. That should be a very good one. That's in Shikiba first ring. And the main event, presumed main event, will be Bozilla going one-on-one with Tank after Bozilla had enough with Tank, turned on Tank, and seemingly is now going to finish off Tank.
Hopefully, this is goodbye.
Yeah, it sure seems like it will be, just based on the way we've gone here. So that is your card for this weekend. That is your Marigold review. I think Sondre made some great points. Hopefully we have the beginning of maybe some stories moving forward, specifically for Utami. I think this is
It's
a big one
just
for
like
me.
I just want my favorites to be in a company that's interesting. And lately, the last 3 months, this company has not felt interesting.
Mhm. Yeah, I get it. Obviously they had a couple the end of last year was a lot of nothing outside of these Sareee title matches.
Yeah,
And then first stream, which was a big show, and now it's just kind of like where do we go from here?
yeah.
We're still
It's like
trying to find the direction, I think, overall.
good wrestling can only take you so far.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is totally agreeable, totally a great point to bring up. And I'm hoping now moving forward with, like I said, with Yamaoka and Nanai, they hopefully have a natural story for the next couple months together. Utami is the big one I look at now. I want story for Utami now that she tries to establish herself as the ace, as the world champion. So we'll see here. I think Mirai and Mai Sakurai is a interesting story to hopefully start leaning on more and more as, Mai Sakurai continues to be champion. Mirai doesn't have the accolades, she probably would have expected. So there's things there. They just need to, capitalize on them. So we'll see. Obviously, the next couple months should hopefully be very interesting this weekend with the two shows set. We'll see how they look, and we'll go from there. Sondre, thank you so much for joining me. Before I let you go here and continue the rest of the show, hit us with some of your plugs.
Yeah, I do DDT and Dragon Gate coverage for the Dramatic Dream Dragons podcast. It's my two favorite companies when it comes to male wrestling, and we are very passionate about our fandom of those companies. We just last week did a preview of Gate of Bayside, and we also talked about the first 2 weeks in both companies and the news in both companies, and how Dragon Gate and DDT has started the 2025 year. And also, you get to hear some DDT Ultimate Party, how it was live in the building.
That's awesome. Everyone go check that out, please.
Yeah, I also do a Marigold podcast, Fighting Maricore with Far. It's on YouTube and Spotify. We just this weekend did a review of first stream and a preview of the Korakuen that we just reviewed. We'll probably be back probably after this weekend, just to see if something shapes up in first ring in Yokohama, and then we'll review that and the Korakuen, of course. And Actor Stage, one of two actress podcasts that you have to listen to. We are Actor Stage is a monthly podcast. We are going to record sometime this week with Rich, where we'll talk about the year as a whole in Actress Girls and Korakuen Hall from December, of course. So that's going to be a lot of talk about Marigold, of course, and what it did to actress girls and how actress girl handled it. Spoiler, they did not handle it well. But we will talk about it, and it's going to be a very entertaining show because me and Velke and Rich, of course, when we talk about actress, we get emotional.
Everyone make sure to check that out. Obviously, follow Sondre to see when it drops. That's always that's what I always recommend because I feel like anytime I send people to like my own podcast, I'm like, just follow me. That's the best way to know when these things come out.
Like, I'll say this for my Twitter. Almost on the only thing I do on Twitter is just retweet wrestling stuff and plug news and podcasts.
Yeah.
The only place you will hear me actually give my takes about professional wrestling in text form is on Blue Sky. So
go follow Sondre and Blue Sky, folks.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining me, my friend. And hopefully we'll have you back on soon with whatever comes up. I appreciate you sharing your journey to Japan. Now we're on to the rest of the show. We got Stardom. We got Sareee versus VENY. We got Sareee versus Meiko and all of Sareee-ISM. And we are back here as promised to talk about the rest of the Joshi world. But I want to once again appreciate Sondre's time being on the show, talking Marigold, talking his trip. It was a great conversation, but we have so much to get to now because that was that. But so much has happened since my conversation with Sondre. We have so much wrestling to cover from Seedling to Sareee-ISM to Stardom. So let's get to it, shall we? Of course. Hello, everyone. I am here. So let's get to it. Like I said, we start with Seedling. It's the only right place to start. Seedling had one hell of a show to kick off their 2025. And I'm going to say this a lot on this show. You're missing out if you're not a Joshi fan right now. Joshi is thriving. No matter the promotion, no matter the wrestlers, it's thriving. The new young talent are crushing it. The top talent are crushing it. Hell, the legends are crushing it. It's just such an exciting time. So I'm so excited to dive into the first Seedling show of the year. This was at Shinkiba First Ring. The three matches I wanted to highlight for folks. Now we have so much to get to, so I won't be able to talk about all of the show like I would have wanted. But the match between Hinori Hana and Misa Kagura is well worth your time. I thought this match was sensational considering the participants, considering the expectations. It exceeds those expectations. It's very apparent that Hinori Hana is well on her way to being a star in Seedling and being someone that I think is going to help Seedling a lot. We'll talk about her more when we get to the Sareee-ISM show. Then there was a fun trios tag. It was Haruo Matsumoto, Makoto, Miyakuga versus Ayame Sasamura, Itsuki Aoki, and Nagisa Ozaki. This was a lot of fun as well. You get some of the best veterans on the scene. Obviously, you get Kuga, who is one of the up and comers on the scene, one of Seedling's rookies. So, just a good wrestling match, but we're here for one match only, and that is, of course, the main event of the evening for the Beyond the Sea Championship. It was Sareee defending the championship against VENY. You don't need me to tell you how exciting that is going into the match. You don't need it. You just need to see the photo and know this is special. For 511 days, Sareee held the Beyond the Sea Championship, a record historic type reign. She defended the title against the likes of Ayame Sasamura, Misa Kagura, Unagi Sayaka, Nagisa Nozaki. Obviously won the title from the recently retired Arisa Nakajima. Just a sensational championship run for Sareee, but in the end, her reign ended as VENY picked up the win in one of the best matches so far in 2025. Listen, I'm a simple person. it doesn't take much for me to be absolutely locked into a killer match. But when it's Sareee, when it's VENY, you know something special is going to happen. Right now, this is my number 2 match of the year. Absolutely sensational. These two went out there with a goal to destroy one another, and that's what they did. VENY, my God, like I have Mayu and Sareee on this pedestal. Obviously, if you listen to the show, you know that. I see them as the very best, my 2 favorites of all time, all that good stuff. And I think they're the 2 best in the world. But when VENY is at the top of her game, which she can be on any given night, but oftentimes, she has to have reason to. She is in that league, and she was in that league in this very match. These 2 were awesome. They fought around Shinkiba. They fought in the ring. There was a nasty, nasty headbutt by Sareee in this match, as you'd expect. Just sensational. Everything you want to see. Everything you want from a big time Joshi championship match. Truly, it's all you can ask for. And this is all I'm looking for. This was really great. Truly great. Probably the best match I've seen over the past week, but we have so many great matches to talk about, which brings us, of course, to Sareee-ISM Chapter 6, the show of shows. Sareee-ISM has become the staple of Joshi over the past 2 years since she returned to Japan in May 2023. There's been nothing like Sareee-ISM. And every time Sareee-ISM comes around, you know you're in for one hell of a show. Little did I think any of us know that Chapter 6 was going to be the best version of Sareee-ISM yet. The show opened with Victoria Yuzuki versus Kane Miku in a one-on-one singles match. Guys, I know I come on this podcast all the time, and I already did it earlier, but I'm going to do it again anyways. I know I come on this podcast all the time and sing the praises of Victoria Yuzuki, but I have to because she's sensational. And it's time to give Kane Miku some credit as well because she was also awesome in this match as the underdog. They picked a very interesting match strategy here that I didn't expect them to go. It was ultimately Yuzuki being the aggressor, Yuzuki being the dominant one, and Kane being the one to have the comeback, and she was great in doing so. I thought that Kane absolutely blew away expectations for this match. She is someone who you have to be paying attention to moving forward 100%. She is part of T Hearts with Yumika Hoda, so great to see her on here. She wasn't originally scheduled for this show, but what a great addition she was. Her and Yuzuki had such a good match that I said, we need to run this back. Victoria Yuzuki gets the win, as you'd expect, but my goodness, this feels like the start. After her match, Yuzuki did say she wants another singles match with Sareee. I hope we get that singles match. I need that singles match just because of how much Yuzuki has improved. Sareee has said in the past she is someone, Yuzuki, that someone she believes in. Sareee puts people on her shows that she believes in. I think that's always so important for anyone that watches these shows, whether she believes in them or she finds that wrestler special. It's someone important to her and what she's creating. And I feel like that can be forgotten sometimes. I think that can be forgotten because she just puts together these amazing cards and we all are actually like, yes, this is great. But she believes in these people, whether they're the legends, whether they're the up and comers, whether they're the present day stars. She believes in these people. And these two had such a good opening match. Next up, we had Jaguar Yokota teaming up with Honori Hana against Yumika Hoda and Misa Kagura. This match rocked as well. There was, listen, when I go into these matches, you don't know what to expect, right? Because yes, Jaguar and Hoda are legends, but they are older. You don't know what their efforts are ultimately going to be in said match. But in the end, the efforts, it didn't matter because Honori Hana wasn't going to allow anyone not to try in this match. She headbutted Yumiko Hoda so hard in the head that she had an instant bump It was nasty, but it was also amazing. But it was nasty, but it was amazing. This match was great. Hana and Kagura renewed their rivalry, which was also great. They were bumping into each other. The legends were having their moments, and ultimately in the end, Jaguar got the win. But yeah, this was better than expected as well. Everything on this show was better than expected, I think. I think that's fair. Maybe the only one that wasn't was the main event because, listen, you see Sareee, you see Meiko, you know what to expect, right? But everything else, I think, exceeded expectations. But this was really good. Well worth going. I will say, like I said, SareeLive.com is where you can see the show. Go buy it. Well worth your ticket. I know I did. I think everyone else should too. If you haven't seen it, because it's so great. Then we had Takumi Iroha versus Chi-Chi. Another victory lap here for myself and for the others who have believed in Chi-Chi since day one. Chi-Chi is the most fascinating wrestler on the scene today. I'll keep bringing it up. This is a wrestler trained by Shuji Ishikawa and Suwama, two puro powerhouses, two puro brutes. And she is the Barbie girl of the scene. And yet she somehow combines the two to just get it. She's someone that has become a real find on the scene, someone that is going to be special on the scene because she, again, gets it. She brought the best out of Takumi Iroha that we've seen in quite some time. Takumi Iroha is in a very unique spot, I think, in her career where she doesn't need to go up to that highest level anymore. Obviously, she had the knee injuries and so on and so forth, but she doesn't need to. But when someone brings it out of her, it makes for a very good match. And that's what this was. Chi-Chi brought it out of Takumi. Takumi was destroying Chi-Chi, but it's the few moments of hope. It's the few moments of belief. It's the few moments that Chi-Chi survives and gets on offense that you're so invested in. She's such a great babyface. She's such a great heelish character in Stardom. She just is so good. It's Chi-Chi is someone who one of my first interviews with Sareee, that was someone she believed in from the start. And it's a reason she's always on these cards. This was a great showing from her once again. She's been one of the best wrestlers this year. No matter where you watch, no matter who you watch, she has been one of the best. And it continue here. A really strong showing from her, I thought. So really enjoyed that match. And then we had the semi main event, which on paper was crazy, and in the ring it was crazier. This match was so great. I get almost giddy talking about it because listen, you didn't know what to expect. You knew there were great wrestlers here, but just so many different things going on. On one side, you have Karo Ito and Yurika Oka. Obviously, Oka is someone who's very talented. I've been singing her praises for a long, long time. But you have Ito, who, she's older. She doesn't always have like the best performances. She barely wrestles anymore, right? But she is someone who, obviously, one, means a ton to Sareee, and two, as we learned in this match, can still go when needed to. Karo Ito is 53 years old. Last year, she had a total of 14 matches, the lowest amount of matches she has had since 2003, folks. She's been wrestling since 1990. A legend in the scene, obviously. But again, this pushes my point. Like, she's not someone you're going to expect to have this great performance in, and she's going to face Bozilla and Mio Momino. Mio Momino is one of the best in the freaking world. You put her up against anyone, it's a real contest of who the best is. And then it's Bozilla. I talked so much about her in the tag match earlier. She had an even better showing here because she's just that great. Bozilla has been such an incredible find for Marigold and for the scene as a whole. Obviously, she's someone that Sareee loves. She said that in one of my interviews. This is an opponent she wants to face every year if she can. She wants to see the growth in herself, in Bozilla. These two get it. And obviously, Bozilla gets it. Seeing her in the ring and teaming with Miyamoto and facing Karuhito, facing Yuriko. She was sensational. This match was sensational. It is legitimately a must-see match. I thought this was so excellent, so special, because again, it's a mixed bag of wrestling from the present and the mixture, obviously, of Bobo and Banana opposing each other, but it's the Bozilla, it's the Karo Ito, an incredible performance out of Ito in this match. Her and Bozilla just clicked. This is clearly something that just drove her to be great once again. And yeah, this match was awesome. Ultimately, Bozilla won with a power bomb on Oka as expected, but the crowd was so hot for this match. It was out of this world. If you didn't see it, you gotta see it. I know a lot of people are going to tune into the show to see the main event, but this one you have to go out of your way to see because it was so great. And then, of course, your main event, Sareee versus Meiko Satomura. Main event, everything that is great about pro wrestling. You have Sareee, the best in the world, against the legendary Meiko Satomura, who will retire in 3 months' time. We are so close to the 3-month countdown of her retirement, and yet here we stand, one-on-one, and she goes out there and delivers. This match won only 16 minutes, but it was go from the start. Hard hitting, fast pace, Joshi action at its prime. This was, again, I bring it up every time Sareee wrestles, but she wants to bring the Zenjo spirit alive. Few better to, again, bring that alive with than someone like Meiko, who obviously is a legend in her own right through her career. She has been nothing but sensational since she's come back to Japan. The same can be said for Sareee, of course. These two were supposed to face in WWE NXT UK once upon a time. It didn't happen, so Sareee had to make it happen herself. The story with Sareee this year has been fascinating. 2 major losses to kick off her year. First, dropping the Marigold World Championship to Tommy, then dropping the Beyond the Sea Championship to VENY. So for me, it ultimately made this well, she's gonna drop this belt to Meiko Satomura. Or not the belt, but the main event to Meiko Satomura, and that's what she did. It's obviously the great quote from Batman, the Dark Knight trilogy. And it's one that, you watch this story, you follow this story, and you understand the special story she's trying to tell. Why do we fall? So that we can learn to pick ourselves up. And that is what Sareee is in the midst of doing. She is picking herself up. She is figuring things out. She is rebuilding herself after a year where she won the Tokyo Sports MVP. I'll say it again and again and again. It's a fascinating story that she is doing right now. A fascinating story. One that I can't believe, but it's so exciting because now you're just wondering what's next for Sareee. Where does she go from here? 3 big losses in January. Where does she go from here? Where does she get her momentum from? Obviously, Sareeism Chapter 7 is in March, but you expect her to try to get momentum before that. So where do we go? What direction does the Sun God go? That's why she is the smartest pro wrestler right now. She gets it. She's telling her own story month after month, match after match. There's just no one better. This was sensational. 16 minutes of greatness. One of the best matches of the year. Just everything you want out of these two going one-on-one. And if this is indeed the final time they have faced off in singles action, bravo to both of them. To me, the direction kind of becomes clear because of this loss, right? Chihiro Hashimoto is obviously going to face Meiko Satomura for the Sendai Girls World title at Yogi in March. To me, Sareee as an obvious challenger for Hashimoto, presuming she wins, somewhere down the line makes a ton of sense to maybe get redemption on this Meiko loss against her star pupil. It's something that I've been thinking about ever since the loss happened. I was like, that's a direction. That's exciting. And that's kind of what I'm hoping we go. Sareee-ISM chapter 6 was just unbelievable. I'm so honored to get to watch these shows. I'm so happy to get to watch these shows. If you haven't watched it, like I said, SareeLive.com, go out of your way, go buy it. It's the best couple of bucks you're gonna pay this year because these events are now marquee events. Truly, these Sareee-ISM events are marquee wrestling events. Every time one comes around, you're excited, and you should be excited because this one set a new precedent for what the shows can be as a whole. Obviously, the one before this had the match of the year for my money in 2025, which of course was Sareee and Mayu Iwatani against Chihiro Hashimoto and VENY. Now she's going to put something incredible together, I'm sure, for chapter 7. But chapter 6, this is the one. This is the card you look at and say, how do we up from this? And that's something we're going to have to wait for. But what a great show. What a fantastic show. What a great pro wrestler. I just loved it, folks. It was so good. So good. Just the best. She's the best. Can't say enough. Can't say enough. Now we move on to quickly talk about the TJPW side of things. This weekend, they'll be putting their show up on YouTube for free. It is the continuation of the Max Heart tournament on Saturday. The big standout match for me on this card is actually not the tournament matches themselves, but rather Mizuki versus Mifu Ishida, the champion versus the new wrestler of the core. I'm excited to see what she brings to the table. The show that Shinjuku face. As you can see here, the tournament is down to Kamafuku and Wakana versus Panarajuku, Maxine Paler. Then Himawari Shino Suzuki versus Hyper Masao and Shoko Nakajima. I believe there is another day of action the next day as well. For the other, no, this might be it. I know that Suzume will be defending the International Princess title against Jada Stone upcoming as well. But this show is one to watch. I'll be checking this one out for sure. You should too. It's available on YouTube. If you ever want to dive into TJPW, this is your time to do it. But let's get to Stardom. There's a lot of Stardom to talk about because, of course, they held the New Year unit matches. So bear with me because the points were. This was a very uniquely done tournament to get to the final. So everything happened in the past week. We had 3 house shows. We had a great final. Obviously, right now, we kind of are in a unique situation, I think, when it comes to Stardom. Because this was a new way to start off the year as part of the 14th anniversary. I'd like to first just celebrate Mayu Iwatani, who is of course celebrating her 14th anniversary the day I'm recording this. The greatest wrestler of all time, my favorite wrestler of all time. I said this a little bit on Twitter, but I'll say it here, and I'll say it one more last time for a while. But I'm not watching wrestling. I'm not doing this podcast if it's not for Mayu Iwatani. So I just I appreciate everything that she's done in the wrestling world, and what she does has meant a lot to me. And yeah, I'm excited to talk about her anniversary match here on this show as well. But before we get there, like I said, we have a lot of tournament action to talk about. Of course, this all coming after the Cork and Hall show. So these matches were very unique. You had 2 blocks, obviously. As I talked about last week with the blocks, you had the red block and you had the blue block. The red block was Stars, God's Eye, EXV. Blue block was Cosmic Angels, Neo Genesis, and H.A.T.E. So, how would we go about this? I said Stars should clearly be the group to make it out of red, but with their story, I had doubts. And they didn't really focus too much on the Stars story, which is fine. It's fine. I didn't really have too much of a problem with that, truthfully. But it is fascinating. So, ultimately, in the end, EXV1 will tell you how we got there because there was a lot of pieces to this. So it would be in 3 trios matches. in technically what was one match. So you had randomly drawn teams that they decided ahead of time. So what I liked about this tournament, the first time I watched it was there's strategy here. And I think that's fun. I think that's exciting. I think there's an idea of having strategy going into a match, right? Putting together what are the best combinations to get us the most points possible, and how will the other team answer? I think that is a fascinating idea. And I think this was ultimately the mixture of the past 2 years of the Triangle Derby put into a unique unit version of that tournament, which in the end, you're getting 2 title shots, which I think is exciting. And I think it's okay to just say the 2 title shots are tag and artist title shots, but leaving it open for the future is also cool with me. But this was a really fun idea overall. And listen, I'm really enjoying Start right now. I know. You know, anyone that's listened to this and maybe fell off from listening to it last year might have been like, well, you know, you didn't like. Well, things change. I've changed. I look at this all very differently. It took me a long time. Change is hard, but I'm very excited about Stardom and where we're going right now. I'm so excited that I'll just tell you this now. youtube.com/@ScottEWrestling. This upcoming Monday or Tuesday, haven't decided when I'm going to release it yet. I'll be recording a beginner's guide to Stardom 2025. Had some help putting it together. This was an idea that I've had. I plan to do a beginner's guide for both Stardom and Marigold. Stardom coming up first. Obviously, a lot of history to get into, a lot of current things to get into. So, something to look forward to if you have friends that want to get into Joshi, maybe, or into Stardom, or if you have friends who are new to Stardom and want to learn more, that will be a great video for you. So, I will make sure to plug that again next week as well, but that will be coming Monday or Tuesday over on my YouTube channel. But let's get into the tournament itself. So I thought it was brilliant. Listen, they start off with Cosmic Angels and Neo Genesis. Yeah, I mean, that's just smart. Like, these are 2 of the best factions. They are unbelievable wrestlers, and it's just going to be super entertaining. And ultimately, guess what? That's what it was. This was super entertaining. Now, again, like I said, very confusing to figure out how these matches were going, but it was broken down into the following. So the first match was Azumi, Meisara, Miyu Amasaki versus Aya Sakura, Sayaka Kurara, and Yuna Mizumori. That was really good. Then you had Natsupoi, Sareee Ano, Tam Nakano versus Azumi, Starlight Kid, and Suzuki. That was good, but went to double count, only lasting 5 minutes, which was unfortunate. Then you had Natsupoi, Sayaka Kurara, Tam Nakano versus Meisara, Starlight Kid, and Suzuki. So the results were as follow. You had Neo Genesis win the first fall, a draw in the second fall, and a winner in the third fall by Cosmic Angels. So they both left the first block match of their tournament with 3 points apiece. On the other side, in the red block, was Stars versus EXV. And ultimately, it was EXV that got 2 wins. So the matchups were Hanan, Mayu, Iwatani, and Saida, which got the win in the first fall, defeating Hanako, Meiko, and Waka Tsukiyama. In the second fall was Mina Shirakawa, Rian, Waka Tsukiyama beating Hazuki, Kogo, and Momokogo. And then you had Hanako, Maika, and Mina Shirakawa defeating Hanan, Mayu, Iwatani, and Momokogo in the final fall to leave with 4 points. So when I watched this match, I accepted the fate that this is not going to be the Stars tournament I wanted it to be. Losing 2 falls to EXV was going to be detrimental to their chances. I just could feel it. Obviously, they had the show the next day. That wasn't going to help either. So that was the result. That was the fate that I accepted for my dear Stars. But that's okay. That's okay because, again, I thought this tournament did a really good job. In terms of the best match on day 1, I thought it was the Angels and Neo Genesis, but we bring that to then day 2 on the 18th. I'm not going over the undercard, though there was some good undercard stuff this week. That brings us to day 2, which was Stars versus God's Eye. Again, here were your setups for each match. You had Hanan, Hazuki, and Koguma defeating Rana Yagami, Saki Kashima, and Tomoka Inaba for 2 points, bringing them to 4 points in total, if I'm not mistaken, at that point. And then you had God's Eye, Lady C, Shuri, and Kyoka Katatsu defeating Mayu, Iwatani, Momokogo, and Sareee-ISM to get them 2 points, their first 2 points of the tournament. And the match ended in the 30-minute time limit draw for the final fall when Urana Yagami, Shuri, Tomoki Inaba faced Suzuki, Koguma, and Sareee-ISM. So, like I said, a lot going on in this tournament. But if you catch on after a while, it's a very exciting and interesting house show dynamic. Listen, that's how I treated the Triangle Derby, and that's how I'm treating this. This is a house show tournament. It is for those crowds, and you're gonna have a fun final in the end. I have no problem with that. I didn't have a problem with the Derby either. I know a lot of people didn't like the first Derby. I didn't have a problem with it. The second Derby was a one-night tournament, so like, okay, this was fun. This was a lot of fun. And this was kind of exactly the interesting thing you can do when you have 6 factions, especially when some of them are trying to establish themselves. So this was a fine match overall. The standout of the 3, I thought, was actually the final fall with Koguma, Hazuki, and Ida versus Yagami, Shuri, and Inaba. So let's go to what I thought was the better match of the whole night overall, which was H.A.T.E versus Neo Genesis. I thought this was, again, really good. Neo Genesis had a great tournament, again, as you'd expect. And okay, things that I didn't expect to say so soon. I enjoy this version of H.A.T.E. When I say this version of H.A.T.E, I mean Saya Kamatani, Natsuko Tora, Momo Watanabe, Ruaka, Fuki Death Arena, and Azusa Inaba. I thought this was the most enjoyable they've been for me, to the point where I was really looking forward to both of their matches. Listen, me and Saya Kamatani, I accept how popular she is. I know how popular she is. And ultimately, I'm excited for her Suzuki title match. She's starting to grow on me as a heel. And she really showcased it, I thought, in both days, because she didn't compete until the final match both times. I thought that was a fascinating little thing to follow. That was kind of one of my favorite things to follow. It's like, how would these matches break down? So you had Miyu Amasaki, Starlight Kid, and Suzuki get the first win, defeating Fuki and Death, Momo Watanabe, and Arena. And then in Block A, not Block A. Well, yes, Block A, but in the second match, it was Azusa Inaba, Natsuko Tora, and Ruaka tying things up, beating Azumi, Meisera, and Miyu Amasaki. And then in the final match of the 3, Azumi, Starlight Kid, and Suzuki walked out with the win, defeating Momo Watanabe, Arena, and Saya Kamatani. That was really good. The Meisera, Miyu Amasaki, Azumi versus Tora, Azusa Inaba, and Ruaka match was really good. Listen, Ruaka had really good showings in this tournament. Definitely worth paying attention to. Like this group of H.A.T.E is fascinating, because I think you're trying to. It really did feel like Saya Kamatani is the leader of this group now. Sorry to Natsuko, but that's just what it feels like. And I think the more we push that, the more interesting the group becomes, truthfully, because I think changing into her vision is something very interesting. But of course, Natsuko did beat Meiko. We have to come back around to that. But that was a good day of action. And then the third day of action, which I thought overall was the best day of action in terms of the main event between H.A.T.E and Cosmic Angels. But before that, we had the deciding match between God's Eye and EXV, which ultimately came down to the final fall when EXV's Hanako, Maika, and Ryan successfully defeated Lady C, Saki Kashima, and Shuri to get to their 4th points in the match, bringing them to 8 total. So EXV moved on. Not the team I'd pick. I would have picked Stars or God's Eye over them. But they made the most of it in the tournament final, which we will talk about. And then in the final match between H.A.T.E and Cosmic Angels, man, oh man, this was awesome. This really was. Naba was awesome in this match. Aya Sakura was awesome in this match. I know, big shock. We're gonna give praise for Aya Sakura, but that's just where she is, folks. And one of the biggest parts of this is Rena pinned Sareee-ISM, which ultimately has set them both up for Wonder Stardom title interests, which were created over the weekend. We'll talk about that here in a second. But the first fall was really good. Really, really good. Thought it was the best fall, maybe of the entire tournament up until the final day, in terms of matches. And then we had Ai Sakura Tam, Yuna Mizumori versus Usanami Fuki and Death, and Momo Watanabe, which was the win for Cosmic Angels to get back even. And then in the end, Saya Kamatani pinned Tam Nakano once again in the final match to move Neo Genesis onto the final and continue that story between those two. A really good match overall, kind of the one that I walked away from being like, yeah, this is a good tournament. Like this one kind of solidified that for me. But let's get to the final show. Shinkiba first ring on Thursday. So the opening tag, I wasn't going to talk about this, but this match was really good, so I want to. It was Suzuki, Saida, Koguma, and Momokogo versus Matoe Hamabe. I just want, or teaming with Matoe Hamabe. They were not facing her. That would be crazy. I just want to give some credit to Hamabe. I talk about a lot of rookies, a lot of the young stars around the scene. She's great. Like, she's going to be great. She's just another one that gets it, truly gets it. And we're seeing strides very quickly of who she can become. And obviously, with the judoka background, it's a great thing. And yeah, she's making the strides you want. They faced off with Yuna Mizumori, Aya Sakura, Sayaka Kurara, Lady C, and Ronnie Agami. There was a point in this match where Ida bounced off the ropes, and Kurara speared her, which was followed by an Aya Sakura kick. And I was like, we got to give young Kozen all the belts right now. Just don't even hesitate. Give them the belts. Please. Thank you. End of story. Bye bye. See you later. Like, give them the belts. They should beat Waka and Hanako. Like, it's not even a question to me. They're just so good. They're just so good. But this was a lot of fun. This was a really fun tag match. And then we had the unofficial official anniversary match for Mayu Iwatani. Mayu Iwatani teamed up with Hanan to form eye contact against Shuri and Saki Kashima. Listen, at the end of the day, I couldn't ask for much more from a match. This was an emotional one to the start. Saki Kashima, made her point of how she was her best friend, but she doesn't regret making the decision to move on and, grow and so on, right? They, in many ways, were part of the same class. Saki Kashima has been along for a long time. And in many ways, this was part of her anniversary. This anniversary is Mayu's anniversary is the STARDOM anniversary after all. And obviously, a lot of things happened since then, but this was a really emotional match. And, you get Mayu in there with her former best friend and one of her greatest rivals, and then you have her teaming with Hana. It was perfect, and the crowd was great for it. The action was great. Mayu almost killed herself on a suicide dive, as she often does. Her dive's incredible, but she almost landed on her head. It was terrifying, and she got up holding her head. She was like pumped up the crowd, and in the end, Shuri got the win, which I thought was a bit of a shock, but Shuri got the win, pinning Hanan, which marks the second time Hanan has been pinned to start this year. She was also pinned by Rowaka, and she was pinned in the tournament as well, but I don't remember by who. But either way, my point remains: a notable pinfall taken by one half of the Goddesses of Stardom champion. So notable there, but I thought this was great. Really, it was. You know, an emotional soft spot perhaps for me, but I really did think it was a great match. So worth going out of your way to see if you haven't already. And then the final, the New Year Unit Tournament Final, EXV, Neo Genesis, 5v5. Fascinating to see how this would go because ultimately the rules were the most falls win. And I didn't know if it was going to be like one-on-one or gauntlet style, and they would just keep switching. It was a tag match. It was 5 versus 5. Simple. And reoccurring moments and good pair-ups throughout the match. This was really, really good. They saved the best for last in terms of matches. I thought this was just I thought EXV got the most they could have gotten out of themselves. They limited it to really Maika and Mina in the ring, which I thought was smart. Obviously, you had Rion and Waka and Hanako get their spots, but especially in the closing stretch, you had Maika crushing it out there, especially with Suzu and Starlight Kid. Her and Suzu, man, when they got in the ring together, I was so pumped. I was like, man, it's been a long time. And the crowd was into it. It's been a long time. Like, this is great. This is great. So I loved that. I love that. Hanako got the first fall pinning Miyu Hamasaki. So that potentially sets up that future Stardom title match that I think many of us expect. Then you had Meisera defeating Rion. You had Mina Shirakawa pinning Azumi before Azumi came right back around 3 minutes later to pin Mina Shirakawa. And Suzuki got the winning fall, pinning Meiko in a real shock, but those two crushed it. Like, that was the best part of the match, was what those two did. Suzu seems very ready for her title match. Maika's, fucking hitting home runs left and right now. So, this was just really good, and the right team won. Listen, I love stars, obviously, but there's something to be said about Neo Genesis and what they represent for Stardom right now. They represent the present and future. These five should be leading Stardom moving forward. Starlight Kid, Azumi, Miyu Hamasaki, Suzuki, Meisera, they're just sensational pro wrestlers. When they put this faction together, they felt super off the bat. And listen, they might be all holding gold very, very soon. So, after the win, after the great match, it was announced by them that while they don't know when the title matches will happen, Suzuki and Meisera reforming Crazy Star. That was probably the best part of this entire thing. They'll be reforming Crazy Star, and they will be facing Wingori for the tag belts somewhere down the line, presumably the Supreme Fight Show. And then the Artist of Stardom championships will be Starlight Kid, Azumi, and Miyu Hamasaki challenging the Cosmic Angels for those. That match should be awesome. I can't wait. I can't wait. Like, listen, listen. I had my ups and downs last year with Stardom and overall, and it took me a long time to enjoy again, but I'm back there and I'm really enjoying what's going on. Um Joshi's fucking great. It's great right now. It's so great. It's so great. And this was a really fun show. And this weekend, they have some fun shows. This weekend is the Stardom Awards, like I said. So let's get to it, shall we? We'll have the debuts of the new rookies in Stardom. So, first up will be. Let me double check. I want to make sure I have the name correct because they did announce the names on this show. And I just want to make sure I have them correct. So my apologies for not being ready at all times. I am scrolling. There we go. So this match will be Akira Kuragane versus Suzu Suzuki. Akira already's got a mean mug. She looks pissed at all times. I'm already a fan. Her and Suzu, fascinating matchup, obviously. Interested to see. Listen, again, we're all for the new rookies, new wrestlers coming into the scene. So hopefully one of these two especially stand out over the weekend. Then we have the 6-woman tag. It will be Stars and EXV and God's Eye teaming up against H.A.T.E. It'll be Mayu, Iwatani, Hazuki, Saki Kashima, Shuri, Maika, and Mina Shirakawa teaming up against Saya Kamatani, Natsuko Tora, Momo Watanabe, Tekla, Rina, and Ruaka. So that should be a fascinating match. I thought it was a fun tag to put together. And then we'll have maybe your main event, should be your main event. Miyu Hamasaki defends the Future of Stardom Championship against Azusa Naba. We need a graphic that where Miyu has the belt, by the way. But this should be great. I'm really looking forward to this one. I love both of these wrestlers. I think they're great. Azusa's obviously been awesome since her debut. And obviously, Miyu Hamasaki, I mean, she's been great. Like, her strides have been so impressive since her debut and over the past year, especially. So this should be really good. And then on Sunday, we will see the debut of Yuria Hime, who will debut against Maiko. So again, a big match. Hopefully, she'll able to showcase what she's all about. So looking forward to that. Then we'll have a fascinating match here. One that I am pumped for. It'll be Aya Sakura versus Kyoko Kotatsu, 1-on-1 in a, if I'm correct, I believe it's a UWF rules match. It's a U rule match, so UWF rules essentially. Really looking forward to this. This should be very exciting. The show will also see Hazuki and Koguma of FWC face Shuri and Rana Yagami, so can't complain about that. Then you'll see the Cosmic Angels face Stars, Tan Nakano, Natsupoi, Sayaka Kara, Yuna Mizumori versus Mayu Iwatani, Momokogo, Saida, and Hanan. Is this the possibility? Is this the time that we start to tease the IWGP Women's title match? Perhaps. I think there's a real possibility of that. But I'm very excited for this match. And then your presumed main event, an unofficial Wonder of Stardom #1 contenders match. Man, I'm just excited to see Rena get the opportunity. I predicted on my prediction show she will get a Wonder of Stardom title match. They continue to elevate her up the card. I think Sareee-ISM probably gets the win here, but the fact Rena gets this match at all is great. Sareee-ISM being the first defense for Starlight Kid, very smart. I think to get Starlight Kid a redemption win after last year when she lost to Sareee-ISM, which was, I believe, Ano's first defense. So cool little thing there. And then Rena can come back around, maybe win the Cinderella perhaps, and get her title shot in a couple months' time. So that is your show for this weekend. And that is it here for the 5-Star Joshi Show. Thank you, everyone, for listening. A great long 2-hour episode today. I want to thank Sondre for being here and sharing his opinions on all the shows and so on and so forth. The Marigold Korakuen review at the top of the show, the Sareee-ISM review, the STARDOM review. I am so excited about Joshi right now, so I can't wait to record next week. Like I said, though, in the middle of the show, if you happen to skip that part, this Monday or Tuesday, my YouTube channel, where you might be seeing this, youtube.com/@ScottEWrestling if you're listening on MP3. I will be putting together a beginner's guide to Stardom 2025. Exciting times in the world of Stardom. I think a lot of people are going to want to pick it up. So I'm going to give you the best notes about wrestlers, factions, championships, advice overall, matches to see, and so much more to get you in and watching Stardom. So keep an eye out for that. But thank you, everyone. Otherwise, I appreciate it. I greatly appreciate the continued support listening to the show. If you have anything else you're hoping to hear about over the next couple weeks, let me know. Other than that, thank you, everyone, for listening. Enjoy Joshi Wrestling. And until next time, see ya.